Hi guys, it's me, ChazzaHD, and welcome to Race Day in Monaco, the race watch-along for the 2022 Monaco Grand Prix. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Hopefully you're excited for the Monaco Grand Prix. The clouds, by the way, have gathered, and I still don't think it's going to rain, because, well, there's plenty of times in F1 we've been thinking, oh, it might rain, and then it obviously hasn't turned out to be the case. But certainly getting cooler at the track and the clouds gathering more over the mountains. So we'll see what happens on that front. But as long as it's not as boring as last year, and of course these cars can follow better than last year and previous years, you never know what could happen in today's Grand Prix. I certainly think it's going to be a competitive Grand Prix, certainly in the midfield from, say, 5th back to, 12th, 13th on the grid. So it is going to be still a Grand Prix of interest. And yeah, hopefully, no matter what time it is in your part of the world, no matter what part of the world you're from, hopefully you will join me in Nib for today's Monaco Grand Prix. And yeah, we've got 28 minutes or so until the Monaco Grand Prix. And Martin Brundle on the Sky F1 broadcast is starting his grid walk. Hopefully has a bit better luck this time than the last street track. Now, let me get into the starting grid for today's Monaco Grand Prix. So here you go. Here are the results from qualifying. It is a Ferrari front row in for today's race that it was in qualifying. Of course, the last time they won here in 2017, they locked out the front row. And if you look at the front row in Monaco, it is 99.9% sure to be a race win. And of course, it is the Monegasque, the home driver, Charles Leclerc on pole position, Carlos Sainz in second, Perez surprisingly in third place, Verstappen fourth, and then Norris fifth, Russell sixth, Alonso seventh, Hamilton 8th, Vettel 9th, and Ocon in 10th place. And then knocked out in Q2 is Tsunoda in P11, Valtteri Bottas 12th, Magnussen 13th, Ricciardo 14th, and Mick Schumacher in 15th. And then your bottom 5, and starting towards the back, Alex Albon in the Williams in 16th. Gasly, very surprisingly, 17th. He was so quick in practice, but his team got it wrong. Was sending him out on track but just after the red flag in Q1. And then Lance Stroll, 18th. Nicholas Latifi, 19th. And then Zhou Guanyu will start at the back. He also did not get around to doing a proper lap, really, in Q1. So that is your starting grid for the Monaco Grand Prix. And yeah, up front, it is looking as though it could be definitely a procession. But after those front 4, we have a stacked midfield. And I think definitely we're going to see some changes in the Grand Prix. Certainly, of course, around the pit stop phases. But I'll just move on to these pictures. Of course, these pictures will help guide you through today's action. Let me just adjust that there. And yeah, 26 minutes to go until the formation lap begins. So I think we'll quickly start by going through, of course, all of the teams and drivers and how we think they'll do. We'll start at the top. Unless Perez or even Verstappen somehow, I'm not even sure if it's possible for Max to go from 4th to 2nd at the start. But if Perez does get to 2nd on the first lap, then I think Red Bull, then they still have not the greatest chance of victory, but still a chance of winning the race with Sergio Perez, because we have seen Red Bull at times this season show some good race pace, and you never know what could happen with Leclerc. But because of how wide the cars are, how short the run is down to turn 1, if Ferrari maintain a 1-2, which I expect into turn 1, then Ferrari, unless we get rain or a safety car at the wrong time, or obviously reliability trouble, Ferrari will win today's Grand Prix. It will be interesting to see what happens when it comes to team orders at Red Bull between Perez and Verstappen. But in terms of the fight for victory, yeah, it all comes down to the start, I think, if it is going to be a clean, dry Grand Prix. And sadly, we're not really going to get like a big fight for victory that I was hoping if we have Leclerc. I was hoping coming into this Grand Prix that it'd be Leclerc on pole with Max second, or, those two on the front row with one another. But sadly, not the case. But yeah, Ferrari in a fantastic position. They're just on the Sky F1 broadcast. They're just showing a radar for Monaco, and there is rain around, but just not close enough to Monaco itself. So I'll bring Nib in now and get his thoughts as to what he thinks is going to happen today. Nib, firstly, how are you doing? And secondly, for Ferrari, how good are their chances, do you think, for victory? And do you think it all comes down to the start?
Well, yes. Well, first of all, I'm doing all right. Of course, if you know me well enough, you know that I'm a Liverpool fan, and yeah, of course, we lost this morning, so not amazing, but yeah, I mean, obviously with these big fat cars, it's certainly very hard to get an overtake done at Monaco. I mean, it was already hard enough when the cars were, the start of the 2010 spec. But Ferrari have to be favourites. They've looked the best all weekend. They've been so strong in the final sector. They've just had a lot better traction from watching on board than the Red Bull in that final sector. And the car's a lot more stable through those chicanes than the Red Bull. Certainly a lot less twitchy. And yeah, Leclerc certainly has to be favourite for today. And well, I think you'd be saying it's a near guarantee that a Ferrari wins today.
Yeah, absolutely. With Red Bull, though, obviously surprising Perez ahead of Verstappen, not just in qualifying, but he's pretty much been ahead of him the whole weekend in the Red Bull. Of course, last weekend we heard or saw the people moaning on social media, which they do, every day of every year, obviously. But especially in the F1 community. But obviously people moaning about Sergio Perez having to move over a couple times for Max Verstappen. People felt it was unfair, even though I thought it was absolutely fine because Verstappen was miles quicker. Let's say Perez is third, Verstappen is fourth, and Ferrari are kind of drifting into the distance. If Perez is ahead, even if he's slightly quicker, or, on the same pace as Max, Nib, do you think Red Bull for the championship will put Max ahead of Sergio, even if Sergio is quicker?
No.
Right.
No, I don't. I think potentially if they want to get that done, they might do something in the pit stops.
Yeah.
But it certainly won't be an on-track thing, sort of like last weekend, unless, Perez is shockingly slow, say like Rosberg was in the wet here when he let Hamilton through back in 2016. I don't know why I mentioned Monaco 2016. Well done. But yeah, I mean, the Red Bull did the right thing. What if they kept Verstappen behind Perez, then Leclerc still would have been leading the championship. It made all the sense in the bloody world to let Verstappen through, but yeah, people are getting their knickers in a twist as per usual. But yeah, Perez, I mean, he's been faster the whole entire weekend. Every single session, he's been faster than Verstappen. It's been quite odd. Perez has certainly seemed more at home with the car this weekend than Verstappen, which is a little bit unusual. But I mean, certainly Verstappen hasn't had the greatest weekend. There was a little bit of a chuckle from myself before as we saw Mr. Sweats. And if you don't know who Mr. Sweats is, it's Eric Boulier. I just saw him on the grid just before.
Yeah, I saw him. Did you just see Martin Brundle get rejected again by some famous person's assistant? I just saw that whilst you were talking. I don't know if you saw that.
Actually,
but
I don't even. Yeah.
Yeah, it's annoying that these people come on the grid and then think they have the rights and then not have to get interviewed because that's what happens. There's tons of media on the grid.
I mean, come on, if you're letting Chris Medland speak to you, then you got to let Brundle speak to you.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think people forget, certainly in this country, that it's not just Martin Brundle on the grid. It's pretty much everyone, every broadcaster on the grid. Not just showing it live, but also people who only show the highlights of the race, like Channel 4, of course. With Perez and Verstappen, if Perez is quicker, I think they will keep him ahead. I don't see the reason to swap them around, especially if Perez is not too far behind Sainz, because they can still get second in this Grand Prix if if say Carlos's pace is not great. But I think one thing they could do now that you mentioned is they could do something in the pit stop. Obviously in 2017, I remember Vettel and Raikkonen got swapped around because they let Sebastian go on probably the better strategy, which was to go a few laps longer, and then that put Sebastian ahead. That is something they could do in this race, which, to be honest, you could make an argument that's unfair, but I mean, if they have the opportunity and the right to get Verstappen, a few extra points, then they will, I'm sure, get it. As Martin Brundle there, just interviewing Russell next to Alain Prost there on the grid. But yeah, up front, it's not going to be a great battle, I don't think. The only thing I could see is possibly a Red Bull maybe jumping Sainz in a pit stop if Ferrari get it wrong, which we have seen in the past. Now, we'll go on to the midfield runners. We'll start with the front few drivers. Obviously, Lando Norris is in 5th for the second year in a row, despite still not being 100% healthy. And then you've got George Russell in 6th, Alonso 7th, Hamilton 8th, Vettel 9th, Ocon 10th, with Tsunoda and Bottas just inside the top 10. For me, I think Norris is most likely to finish in 5th place because the whole weekend he's been the quickest driver other than the front 4. And in qualifying, despite only being a couple tenths behind Verstappen just ahead in 4th, he made a couple mistakes towards the end of his lap, which we saw on board in qualifying 3. So Norris might actually be able to hang on, at least for the first few laps, to the back of the Red Bulls. But I do expect Red Bull eventually to pull away quite a bit from McLaren, or the McLaren of Lando Norris. But yeah, I think Norris should be realistically finishing in, say, 5th place. And then we'll see what Mercedes can do. Mercedes do tend to have very good race pace, but of course they don't have a great track position. I mean, Russell doesn't have too bad of a track position, but Lewis Hamilton is in a bit of bother there in 8th place, stuck in a sandwich between, in between Alonso and Vettel, of course, 2 other world champions and great rivals of Lewis Hamilton. So yeah, I think they'll be interesting to watch. Obviously, Alpine had a very good qualifying. Alonso probably could have, and there's Flavio on the grid walk. What was it? Alonso could have got 5th in qualifying had the red flag not come out for Perez's accident, and also Alonso had not crashed himself at the Mirabeau, yeah. So Alonso, look out for him as well, because I think you could see him be quite strong today and get some decent points. And of course, we'll look out for Sebastian Vettel. Remember, last year finished 5th in the race after starting 8th, and of course only starts 1 position lower than he did last year. So look out for Sebastian Vettel, who could get some decent points today. But for Norris, Russell, Hamilton, Alonso, or Alonso, Hamilton, Vettel, Ocon, quite a strong pack of drivers in that upper midfield area. Who would you say is likely to come out the strongest out of those lot of drivers at the end of the race?
Well, I'll tell you one driver who went out in Q2 that's not going to be at the top of there. Daniel Ricciardo. Just pure pain as a Daniel Ricciardo fan at the moment. It's not fun. And there'll be no further conversation about that. But yeah, I feel bad for Gasly, because Gasly absolutely should be in this conversation. But yeah. I mean, Tsunoda unfortunately burned him with the red flag coming out, of course. I mean, you'd have to say, do we just expect Alonso to get ahead of Russell at the start because it's Alonso at the start?
Maybe.
Yeah, and I feel like Vettel has been really good all weekend in this Aston Martin. I feel like he's certainly having a much better time of things with this new Aston Martin. As you could see, he was comfortably ahead of Stroll all qualifying. And yeah, I've got to say, Yuki Tsunoda has been very good over the last few races. Obviously, if he gets one more reprimand, though, he's going to get a race ban. But he's certainly, performance-wise, he's certainly been matching or bettering Pierre Gasly over the last couple of races, and it's been good to see because so many people wrote him off so quickly. It's like this guy has so little single-seater experience. Like his raw pace in F2 was immense in his first season. You just got to give him a little bit of time, and I'm glad to see him starting to improve his performances now.
Yeah, I've been saying pretty much myself with Yuki Tsunoda that I think him and Ocon have been the two drivers this season who have done very well and not really been talked about. I mean, of course, Alex Albon, who's from a lower down team, he has got a lot of credit, deservedly so, because he's been brilliant in that Williams car. But yeah, Ocon, for example, he's in the top 10 again. They're showing him on the TV broadcast now, so just standing for the I think national anthem. Yeah, Ocon's in the 9th in the championship and has been consistently top 10 in qualifying and races this season. And for Tsunoda, is he's ahead of Gasly in the championship by I think 5 points or so. And yeah, last weekend in Barcelona he was very, very good. And yeah, he's been much better than he was last year. I mean, last year's Monaco Grand Prix, I think he finished in like 16th place or something. So it's a much better Grand Prix for him than it was last year. And yeah, good to see Tsunoda, doing so well. Now, quickly, we'll go on to like some of the drivers outside the top 10. We won't mention Ricciardo, as you said. I mean, I don't think he'll do that much today because he's just too far back. But yes, Tsunoda, you have to put in the conversation for maybe nicking a point. Obviously, Gasly, will see what he does. I mean, he's too far back, really, to come up. But if there is a safety car at the right time, then you never know what could happen. I think in clean air, Gasly should be just as quick as the people in the top 10. But of course, doesn't have the track position, so he will desperately need clear air if he can get it, as the clouds do continue to get a bit dark at the Monaco Grand Prix track. Yeah, really, you'd have to look at, Tsunoda, maybe a Gasly, and a Bottas. I mean, is there anyone else really you could think of who could nick a point as well? Quickly, what do you think of Alfa Romeo this weekend? Because this weekend, I think everybody expected they'd be really good, and they've been very poor.
Okay, well, I think we've got to learn that the final sector at Barcelona does not equal performance at Monaco.
Yeah.
It's a good little guideline, like all these guys are decent, but we gotta relax on the last sector of Barcelona fascination. But in saying that, they have been pretty poor this weekend. Certainly expected a little bit more from them. But I mean, I think finally Bottas being so interrupted has caught up to him. He's obviously missed like so many of the previous practice sessions, as we've got a couple of Chaz's favourite team's players on the screen, Matt Doherty and Eric Dyer. I say that because Chaz is a Chelsea fan. And so we're getting more tweets now from some of the journos saying it's the spitting of rain is continuing, but of course that won't be enough for it to start. But yeah, just the lack of running, I think, has caught up to Bottas this weekend, which has been a shame because he's been so immense so far this season. And yeah, just want to say on Albon, I mean, 8 tenths on Latifi's head. Like Christ, not good for Nicholas.
No, especially considering it's the shortest lap of the year we've gone to so far. Yeah, and look at that, umbrellas up, people getting their hoods on, bang on time. Yeah, please just keep falling. Right, quickly. Oh, this will be hard to do our predictions now because we don't know what the weather's looking like, but let's just keep it for the dry because, again, let's not get too excited. For the dry, I'm going to go for, this is my predicted top 5, by the way. Make sure in the chat, by the way, guys, to put your predicted top 5 in the live chat. Honestly, Nib, it looks like it's going to rain because those clouds are very rain looking clouds. Right, so I'll go for dry race conditions. So I think it'll be Leclerc winning. I'm going to go Sainz in second. And then I'm going to go Max third because I think they'll find a way to engineer him past into some way, shape, or form. And especially if it rains, I think Max will definitely beat Sergio in this race because we know how good he is in the wet. Perez fourth, and then I'm going to go Norris in fifth. What are you going to go for?
Sorry, that was too funny with your brilliant meteorology. There's some beautiful looking rain-looking clouds. Oh, it's brilliant stuff. But I mean, now with the rain, it's going to be a bit difficult, isn't it? I think you have to go with Leclerc first, then second, Sainz. I'm going to say Perez finishes in third with, basically the top 5 for quali. Verstappen in fourth, and then Norris in fifth. Sorry to be boring, but I think it's going to stay the same unless there is some business going on with undercuts. But yeah, that looks like some good proper rain now. So it looks like they might have to be starting on the inters.
Yeah, that's intermediate conditions for sure. So here we go, guys. Rain, exactly what we wanted. Anyway, let me know in the chat what your predictions are for the Grand Prix. In a moment, I will quickly get into what I'm going to quickly do is get my tyre graphic ready for the obviously when on the running order. I'm going to pretty much just put into for everybody because I think given the rain we're seeing now, it's not hard enough for wet tyres, full wet tyres, but it's definitely not dry enough to take a risk. Unless it stops raining literally right now, which I don't think will happen. So I'll just quickly do that, and then we'll get on to a couple little graphics to build you in to the race. And of course, the formation lap is in 7 minutes time. So we are very close now. And just as I said a few minutes ago, the rain has arrived at pretty much the perfect time. And if you've ever seen a wet Monaco Grand Prix from the past, you know that it is always a classic. So we'll see what happens. And yeah, I'll just quickly get all of this ready, and then we'll get onto those graphics. So make sure you guys keep posting in chat your predictions. If you want to go for predictions for what it's going to be like in the wet, which it looks like it's going to be, then make sure to post that too, and I'll read out a couple before we start. Right, almost finished this tyre graphic, and as well, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, because we will be doing race watch-alongs and qualifying watch-alongs all season long. And of course, the next race in 2 weeks in Baku, another street track on the Formula 1 calendar. And as well, don't forget I'll be live about 30 to 45 minutes after the race finishes with a race reaction stream. So don't forget as well to come along to that after the checkered flag. Also, yeah, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there. And as well, smash the like button, share this video and channel everywhere you can, and don't forget as well to follow me on Twitter at ChazHD5. But let me quickly now get into a couple graphics or stats for the race. So for Ferrari, who of course have got the front row locked out, these are some key stats ahead of the race. Charles Leclerc has never finished the Monaco Grand Prix in Formula 1. He'll be hoping he can do that today. Of course, with the weather the way it is now, certainly going to make things tricky. Going an entire race around Monaco, not making a mistake in the wet, you've got to be an amazing driver. So we'll see how good he really is today. And Ferrari's last win in Monaco, 2017, with Sebastian Vettel. That was also the last year they had a front row lockout, as I've said a couple times already. And with Red Bull, for Max Verstappen, he has won here in the past. It was last year in 2021, but he did start second, or in the second place grid slot, and was the first man to lead the pack away after, of course, Leclerc did not start the race. And Red Bull have won the Monaco Grand Prix 5 times. So in recent history, Red Bull have a better record in Monaco than Ferrari do. And I'll quickly as well. Get in to the championship standings, of course, already getting very important, especially at the top there between Verstappen and Leclerc. Max, of course, starting 4th, Leclerc on pole, but Max is leading the championship by 6 points coming into this race. Leclerc is 2nd on 104 points. Perez is then 3rd, and then it's Russell 4th, Sainz 5th, Hamilton 6th, Norris 7th, Bottas 8th, Ocon 9th, and Kevin Magnussen in 10th place. And then the constructors standings, Red Bull, after the 1-2 in Spain, took the lead of the championship on the constructor side and are now leading by 26 points over Ferrari, who of course will be looking to bounce back with their front row lockout today. And then Mercedes are 3rd on 120 points, still surprisingly less than 100 points off the lead of the championship despite being so poor this season. McLaren are 4th, Alfa Romeo 5th, Alpine 6th, a very close fight there for 4th in the championship. And then AlphaTauri and Haas in a close fight for 7th in the championship, and Aston Martin not too far behind in 9th. Of course, if Sebastian Vettel can get a few points today, that will help climb Aston Martin closer to that fight. And Williams, of course, are last in the constructors' standings. Obviously, it is not half an hour to go to the race, as I'll get rid of that timer now, and I'll get my graphics now ready for the race.
Race control start procedure suspended.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? It's not that bad, is it?
I've no idea.
Well,
that's just what all the journalists have tweeted out.
Right. Let me just get up the starting grid for this Grand Prix. Let's hope it's not another Spa. Charles Leclerc will start the Monaco Grand Prix on pole position today, and then it'll be Carlos Sainz in 2nd, Perez 3rd, Verstappen 4th, Norris 5th, Russell 6th, Alonso 7th, Hamilton 8th, Vettel 9th, Ocon 10th, and then Tsunoda in P11. 12th is Valtteri Bottas, 13th is Kevin Magnussen, 14th is Daniel Ricciardo, 15th is Mick Schumacher, 16th is Alexander Albon, Pierre Gasly is in 17th, and then it's Stroll, Latifi, and Zhou Guanyu who complete the rest of the order. Let me just readjust this quickly if I can. There you go, that's a bit better. So that is your starting grid. If we ever get onto dry tyres at any point, then it will be the 3 softest compounds to choose from for this race. And I'll just get the top ticker there ready. And of course, the Monaco Grand Prix is supposed to be a 78-lap race. And, well, if it rains, it's probably going to be more like, 74, 75 laps? I think the last Monaco Grand Prix was 78 laps, but I think the 2008 one was like 76, and then I think the one in the 90s was like 73. So, of course, with a 2-hour time limit, that might keep the laps down. So they're just on the F1 broadcast doing the starting grid graphic, and we'll see how much rain there is on track and whether this start procedure suspended thing is the correct thing. And, well, looks a lot more wet on that camera. And yep, start procedure suspended. It is raining, and it's an air temperature of 22 degrees, so it's still pretty warm. So it does stop raining, then then it will dry up pretty quickly. Doesn't look, though, Nib, to be that wet. Obviously, we're a bit high up with this camera, but it doesn't look to be that bad.
Well, there's been no real explanation for why this happened, but it's certainly not for fans getting tear gassed outside of the track. So, yeah, the teams have said to the drivers that they're going to get a 10-minute warning before we start. So, yeah,
right.
We're certainly going to be waiting another 10 minutes.
Yeah, it says formation lap will start at 15:09 local time, which is in 9 minutes. So we've got another 9 minutes to go until the formation lap. Maybe that's to give the teams a bit extra time to... Because I'm assuming they don't want a situation where people are going on dry tyres, but at the end of the day, that's at their own risk.
Yeah, everyone's on it.
Yeah.
Everyone's on it.
Right, so... yeah, well, hopefully the race will get going in 9 minutes. I'll try and put a timer on the screen quickly. Let me do this timer, but I'll reset it. Not 30 minutes, but like 8 minutes. Let me just quickly do that. So, nope, wrong thing. Here we go. No, that's... I think there you go. I'll just shrink it slightly. So, this timer you're seeing in the top ticker there, that is now the countdown until the start of the formation lap. So once we get close, I'll get rid of it and then put it back where, you know, normally goes in my OBS software. So, yeah, if you're wondering, it is raining. It is going to be, by the looks of it, a wet start. The formation lap will be started behind the... Why?
Boom.
Formation lap will be started by the safety car. It's not that wet. Stop, honestly. They're acting like it's, you know, like it's standing water everywhere. It's not that bad. Why? Well, this gives credence to the people who say that the FIA are too soft these days, and in these instances, I think they are. It's definitely not that wet. I mean, if it was that wet, they'd be on full wet tyres. There's absolutely no need to start the formation up behind the safety car. Hopefully it's just one lap, though, because I don't think the track will be anywhere near as bad as they expect when, you know, when the race gets going. If you remember, though, Nib, the last wet race, I mean, it was a bit wetter than this one, the start, but the last wet race started under a safety car, didn't it, for about 5 or 6 laps? Yeah. So, but then again, that race, they all started on wet tyres, and it was a lot wetter. And there was a lot more standing water on the track than now. So, yeah, this is just totally the wrong decision. As they're now wheeling tyres down to... There's a tyre cover that fell off. Now wheeling some more tyres down to the grid. Yeah, don't worry, guys. The race will get underway. We're just waiting another 5 minutes or so. Hopefully, there won't be a further delay. And hopefully, the rain won't just stop. Because if it does, then we won't get that much running under wet conditions. As Ferrari are changing tyres by the looks of it. Are they going back onto dries, you reckon, Nib?
No idea.
Because it looks as though they're changing tyres here. And of course, you have to do it. I think, is it the 5-minute signal? Or 3-minute signal? I think you have to have your tyres that you're going to start the race on by the 3 or 5-minute signal. Because I remember Kimi Räikkönen in 2008 at this race got a penalty because Ferrari didn't put the tyres on until after the 3-minute signal before the formation lap start. So if they are changing tyres, they need to get those tyres on right now, or else they'll get a penalty. They need to be doing it in the next 2 minutes or so. Or else
drivers are switching to full wets.
Right. So I'll just quickly get my tyre graphic, get that all ready. Obviously, another 4 minutes to go until the formation lap does begin. Again, though, we haven't seen, unless they've got track spotters, which they probably have, or at least, you know, they've had a look around the back of the track. They must have seen something that prompted the decision to go onto wet tyres. delayed start again. Is that delayed start?
It's like a new one.
Why? If this is like Spa again, I'll end up probably fucking running through my TV. It doesn't look that bad at all. Now they're all wheeling the tyres back in. What the hell is going on? Is it confirmed, by the way, they're all starting on wets?
It said, well, there's a tweet by Luke Smith that most teams were switching to wets.
Oh, right. I'll wait then before we get to that. Creating Channel says Spa 2021 intensifies. Yeah. Yeah. Well, luckily, Nib, you weren't on that stream, so I had to suffer through 4 hours of delayed starts. Oh, dear. Please do not do this again. I swear, if they do the formation lap and it's literally just a greasy track, I will fucking go mental.
Well, that's exactly what it looks like.
I know,
because the track is too undulated for like lots of like streams of water to form.
Yeah,
like it.
It doesn't look like we need to delay the start type of situation. I mean, Spa, it did. There were times though in that race where it cleared up for a few minutes and then poured down again. So at times it looked good enough in Spa, but then it started pouring down again. In Monaco here, it doesn't look anywhere near close to like with no way we're starting this race. This just looks like being extra careful for careful's sake.
Most of the Twitter tweeting, bring back Michael Massey.
Oh dear. I mean, look, that's turn one they showed. That's not that bad. I mean, it's raining it is raining quite a bit, but it's not actually. Look at the swimming pool there. Not the actual swimming pool, but it is raining quite hard, isn't it?
Well, it's hard to see because they were just shaking the camera like there'd been an earthquake. Of course, hasn't been an earthquake, but yeah, it just looks like normal rain. It does. It's not like it's torrential.
I've just reset the timer, by the way, because it says now formation lap will start at 15:16 local time, which is in 8 minutes or 9 minutes. It should be. So I've reset the timer.
Well, now it looks like it's absolutely fucking pissing down.
Yeah. Well, if they had started the race, because obviously the cars, they help clear water, it could have helped, but obviously not. Logic was thrown out the window last year, as we know. And yeah, that looks like proper rain and looks like we're going nowhere. Great. And I'm sure you'll hear cries on social media of, well, back in my day, they would race. Or that, Michael Schumacher coped with better than this. I remember, I think one of the races he won in Monaco, which was wet, was 97. That was a properly bad wet race. Probably the worst wet race we've ever had in terms of the amount of water. And, looks as though we're going nowhere. But I'll put the tyre stats or graphics up quickly, or just quickly do them, because they're all going to start on wet tyres, there's no doubt about it. Even if it stops raining now, they are going to start on wets, because there'll still be quite a bit of water on the track. So do bear with, guys. It's obviously not our fault. I mean, if it was my decision, I probably would have just, let them start the race, and then if it's too bad, then probably throw a safety car out there or something. But, yeah. We'll see what happens. And obviously, in the last time this happened, I found that I have that is really bad rain at the exit of the swimming pool section there.
We're gonna be here for like at least 20 to 30 minutes at this stage now.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? the last time this happened, I found that I have an extraordinary ability to talk utter shit for 4 hours. I'm sure we'll.
I remember.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about.
Sorry, I can't remember. I can't remember why I wasn't on that stream. Probably because I was sick. But I remember asking you how you did. It's like, yeah. I'm like, geez, you must have had a good ability to be able to just chat absolute waffle for 4 hours.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it won't be as bad as. And also, I just noticed it said that I think they've mandated that the full wet tires are used, which makes complete sense. I mean, it's getting very, very bad on the pit straight, I have to say. So they'll probably delay the start again, and I may as well just
don't say it's starting like by 36. Oh, and that's. Now that is a river down at the swimming pool, isn't it? That poor guy with his glasses on.
Yeah.
The classic pizza box.
Thankfully, I don't have to suffer that fate anymore. Because if you're wearing glasses in the rain, it is a miserable experience. But it still says the formation lap will begin in 5 minutes, but I don't think it will because the rain is at its worst now. The thing is, though, this rain must have took a dramatic turn because they showed the weather radar like 20 minutes before the race, and it looked pretty clear. They didn't look like there was that much rain about, and now a massive rainstorm has just hit the track. So this is, I think, it caught the teams by surprise, like the intensity of the rain. As great to see so many fans here, of course, many fans in the hills. As Max there in the car, and we'll quickly see if they'll delay the formation lap again, which I expect that they will. I'd expect that the start of the race probably won't come in terms of the start of the formation lap. Obviously, it depends on the rain. If it keeps raining at this intensity, then it will be waiting longer and longer. But if it was to stop raining in the next few minutes, then we'd probably get going in about 20-30 minutes time. As all the drivers still in their cars. And
I can hear your cat in the background starting to get a bit frustrated at the rain.
Yeah, he does this every time I start streaming. He's like trying to make himself heard. That looks bad on the exit of the tunnel. If you hit that, come out the tunnel, you'd probably instantly crash because of the amount of water. We'll see. I think, if I'm trying to remember, I think this rain shower was hovering around Italy. So if it's passed over, it shouldn't be. I don't think it's like Spa, where it was just one massive rainstorm in just like within the entire area of Belgium, as all of the teams are now wheeling their stuff back into the pit. So does that mean we're getting going again? I'd be very surprised if that was the case. With this rainstorm, it looks more like just a 30-40 minute shower rather than a all day type of thing.
Yeah, it's not a huge big trough of rain like it was that day where the whole of fucking Spa. That's not the whole Spa. The whole of Belgium was flooded, basically.
Yeah. So I don't think it's as bad as that, thankfully. As just showing other parts of the circuit. And unless they... I think we might be getting the formation lap here because there's not been a message to say it's delayed again. And obviously, we've only got a minute to go until the formation lap, or, the formation lap that they said. It looks as though we're going to start. Obviously, the formation lap will be behind the safety car. And we might be doing more than one lap beyond the safety car.
So what I don't understand is that we've delayed the initial safety car to then just do it when it's even wetter.
Yeah.
And I don't think they've delayed it. No, they haven't. There's been nothing on Twitter. So interesting.
And in a few seconds' time, it will go to 14:16 British time and 15:16 local time. And that's when they said the formation lap would begin under the safety car with extreme wet tyres. And yeah, it looks as though we're going to get going then on the formation lap. So here we go. Hopefully, they find the track is not too bad for the drivers. Also, we'll see how many laps the race is, because they might, if they do like more than one formation lap, I think there might be less than 78 laps. So we'll see. But it looks as though, guys, here we go. Formation lap is beginning. We are behind the safety car. So we'll see how many laps it is behind the safety car. Hopefully, just a couple. And hopefully no one's broke the rules in terms of, when they're allowed to put tyres on the car within the countdown.
Oh, well, I mean, they put out the thing like 10 minutes ago that they had to be on the wets, so we'll be fine with that.
Yeah. Formation lap now begins, and they are all on wet weather tyres. There's a Red Bull there of Perez, got a bit loose on the rear end, but yeah, they all come away and into turn 1, and let's see what the climb up the hill looks like. Not great from that angle. I mean, from Leclerc's angle, oh god, that is wet up there. That'll be very tricky. But the thing is, if it looks to me, Nib, like it stopped raining, or at least it's not raining anywhere near as hard.
Yeah, the intensity of the rain has certainly decreased quite a bit, but it was interesting to see Perez nearly doing a Jolyon Palmer on the walking slipman, as you would call it in the UK.
Yeah. Not too bad towards the end, or this where Sergio Perez crashed in qualify. It's not too bad there. Obviously, the tunnel will be fine. But then, let's see what it's like when they come out the tunnel. Hopefully, they don't go too quick, the drivers, because they might be surprised by the amount of standing water. And yeah. I mean, let's say it stopped raining, then either the only two options I can see here is a few more formation laps, or laps behind the safety car, and then get going, or just get going in a couple laps time, because what do you call it, if it stops raining, the more the cars go around the track will get better. And obviously it's still quite a warm air temperature, 22 degrees Celsius, and of course Monaco, most dense place, most dense country and city on earth. So yeah, with a few laps, oh god, it is raining very hard in those final two corners. Look at that.
Yeah.
And very hard on the pit straight. Doesn't seem to be that bad though in the other parts of the circuit for some reason. But
yeah, no, it's definitely picked up again.
Yeah.
Because it certainly wasn't raining this hard when they started on the formation lap.
Yeah. So wouldn't be surprised here if they either just kept doing more formation laps or decided to go back to the grid with this one. And can't see two cars in a row there coming up the hill because of the spray. I think though in these parts like Mirabeau and the hairpin, it's fine really. It's just, but these obviously are well sheltered. But yeah, towards the end of the lap and the pit straight, it seems, and obviously the run up the hill, where it's a bit more exposed and a bit more central, it seems a bit bad. So track's not completely flooded.
Okay, well, we've got a little bit of an update from the FIA on why the start was delayed. The FIA, this is what they've said. Race control was monitoring a severe downpour that was rapidly approaching the circuit as it arrived during the start procedure. The safety car start and its associated procedures were implemented. This was done for safety reasons in consideration of no wet running this weekend.
Yeah, make of that what you will. I mean, yeah, no wet running this weekend, but these drivers,
I mean,
they're not all going to crash.
It's even worse. It's even worse than probably when they were on the grid at the moment now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
it's really picked up again.
Yeah, it's really from like the Nouvelle chicane to the pit straight. It's really heavy, and Leclerc says it's raining like crazy. It's only really raceable in the just after the second sector starts. Leclerc, yeah, they're coming back into the pits. Red flag.
Yeah.
And yeah, that makes complete sense. It's just not drivable, those conditions. But like I said, I don't think this is it's gonna rain all day, no stop. It will eventually. Oh god, look at that in the final corner. That is proper flood.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's definitely the wettest I've ever seen Monaco, put it that way. As they just come up and they're going to park up, obviously, and, well, they can't even get into the pit lane. The car's at the back. Yeah, they're going to park up at the end of the pits, or the pit road, and wait as God unleashes his fury. And yeah, look at the pit lane. They're almost swimming down there in the pit lane.
Yeah, this is...
Oh god, look at that radar. That is bad.
I mean, this is... Oh yeah, it's very heavily intensified.
And when you see red, that is not good.
Well, yeah, red with a little bit of purple. It does seem as if there is more rain behind this as well. Not as
heavy, yeah.
Not as heavy, but that's the thing, right? It's quite warm in Monaco, so that certainly doesn't help things, weather-wise. Because with the warm air and in the cool air mixing, of course, it makes the rain a lot heavier, and that's why we're having quite this downpour.
Well, we've got just trying to think how many hours of daylight. I mean, I'll probably say, we have to, again, after Spa, we have to consider it, of course, the the amount of daylight left in the day. So it's 25 past 3 local time, obviously 25 past 2 UK time. If they don't get the race going, I would say by 6 p.m. local time. Obviously, I don't think it'll be that bad, because it appeared, though, Nib, after that rain we saw on the radar, it appeared there was nothing behind it, unless there is more forming behind it that we just can't see. But yeah, if they don't get the race going in the next 2.5 hours, go on.
Well, now the rain stopped.
Yeah, I was just noticing that. It looks like the rain's now, a lot less.
That's very light, and yeah, the heavy stuff is cleared, as we could see from the radar, and now it's a bit brighter. Yeah, we won't be getting underway certainly to 3 p.m. UK time.
Yeah, probably the earliest, I'd imagine. I mean, it's still raining pretty hard there on the that's on the run up the hill towards Casino Square. But yeah, if the race does not get going in the next 2.5 hours, then there won't be a race, unfortunately. Hopefully that's not the case, but yeah. As long as we get started within the next 2.5 hours, then... And when I mean started, I mean proper racing, not fucking safety car laps like we had at Spa. Then yeah, we will get a race on our hands. Maybe not the full 78 laps, but we will get a Grand Prix if they actually get racing in the next... Well, I'd imagine... If the rain starts to ease off, and isn't as hard, then I'd imagine we could get going properly at most in an hour from now. But you're most likely, if we're going to get going again behind the safety car, it's probably going to be at the soonest half an hour from now. Just trying to look at Twitter to see if there's any news. I don't think there is. So yeah, there you go. We'll try and obviously keep you entertained for the next half an hour or so. And hopefully the race will get going soon enough. Well, we missed last weekend's Grand Prix, so I guess we could talk about that. Jesus Christ. I don't know if you saw that in it, but those are waves in that final corner. I've never seen that on a track before. God, that is bad. Yeah, with the Spanish Grand Prix, I guess we could talk about that, because like I said, we didn't cover the Grand Prix with any watch-alongs or anything, because obviously I was having eye surgery, which pleased to announce that I'm feeling good. The eyes are not... They're not. They take a few days, or like just a couple weeks or so, really, to just get used to it. Also, they don't, the total clearness that people have, who obviously don't have to wear glasses. It doesn't come immediately. So yeah, it's improving all the time. The only issues I've had really has just been obviously working at my desk and looking at the screen for so long. In the last couple of days, but yeah, all is good on that front. And it does, by the way, look a bit brighter over the mountains up there, slightly brighter certainly than it was. Yeah, last weekend's Grand Prix was pretty good. First half of the race was very exciting for a Spanish Grand Prix. We had Max and Carlos go off the track, obviously at turn 4. Very surprising to see those mistakes happening to us for such good quality drivers. Obviously Leclerc broke down. Great racing between Russell and Verstappen. Yeah, Nib. I guess with the top teams in the front 3 teams, Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes. What did you think of Spain? And I guess we'll start with Ferrari versus Red Bull. What did you think of just how their races went in Spain?
Well, we'll start off with what I did pre-race, because obviously we get on Discord about an hour before the race starts.
Yeah.
Before we get going and everything, and well, last weekend I played some Rocket League with my mates, and instead of instead of then hopping off Rocket League and chatting to you, we stayed on Discord, and my mates who have absolutely no interest in F1, they say, just going around in circles, the old classic. My mate actually watched the first 40 laps of the race, and I think that's enough to say that it was actually really, really pretty good the first 40 laps or so. It started to tail off towards the end, but we had so much action. I mean, Russell versus Verstappen was brilliant. Russell's defensive maneuver around the outside of Verstappen at turn 1 was absolutely immense. Of course, we had the gusts of wind, the big god old gusts of wind, which took Sainz and Verstappen off the track, and it was about the first mistake Verstappen's actually made on track in a race since lap 1 at France when he went off, and that was also similar conditions where the wind where there was a massive tailwind going into turn one. But yeah, I thought, Leclerc obviously would have comfortably won. That's for sure. So it was quite unfortunate for Leclerc, but Red Bull took full advantage. They did the best result, but I must say one of the better things to see from that race was the pace of Mercedes was certainly improved from previous races in quali. Obviously, in Q3 they'd fallen back a little bit further than what they had been in the practice sessions, but I thought they were pretty good in the race. Of course, Hamilton come absolutely charging through the field. Hamilton had a fantastic race after, of course, he did his classic fake, we should retire the car, we should give up. I mean, every time he does that, we know exactly what he does. It's certainly not the first time that he said something like that on the team radio. I'm pretty sure he said it in Germany 2018 as well. But yeah, it was a really good Grand Prix. It was certainly the best Spanish Grand Prix since 2017, when of course we had the battle with Vettel and Bottas and Vettel and Hamilton. That was mega stuff that year, and yeah, I thought it was even quite a bit better than that. So it was certainly good to see that. It was certainly quite good to see that the new technical regulations were somewhat working around Spain, but they of course have to get rid of the final chicane. I mean, the final chicane just bloody ruins everything, that's for sure. But I think for sure the funniest moment of the race was Verstappen and his DRS.
Yeah.
He's like, mate, I'm pressing it about 50,000 fucking times and it won't come on. And I swear, on some times, he was actually closing it himself because he was just getting that angry. I feel like that's what any of us would have been doing in that situation when we were in the car. So, yeah, I thought it was actually a really enjoyable Spanish Grand Prix for once.
Yeah, it was. Because I remember I watched it on. I watched the full race back online the day after. I wasn't able to watch it live, of course. And yeah, I was like, after the first 30 laps, I was like, bloody hell, what a race I've missed. This is like the best Spanish Grand Prix we've had in a long time, like since maybe the end of the V8 era or something. It was very, very exciting. And yeah, the battle between Russell and Verstappen was great. Obviously, was benefited quite a bit from Max's DRS issue, because he would have got past probably before having to switch onto a 3-stopper to try and get his way into P1 in that Grand Prix. But was a great Grand Prix. Yeah, Ferrari should have won, obviously lost it. Red Bull, very, very dramatic race considering they still ended up finishing first and second. And then yeah, Mercedes, qualifying wasn't great in terms of speed, but at least they got like a good result, probably their best result of the season so far in quali. Maybe Melbourne was the only other result this season I can think of that was better or just as good. So yeah, good to see from Mercedes, and then their race pace was decent. I mean, they weren't as quick as Red Bull and Ferrari still. Over the race distance. I mean, Russell did a phenomenal job to keep Perez and Verstappen behind for so long and keep it so competitive, because Mercedes were definitely struggling, especially in that final sector, and that's why the Mercedes was having to defend so much down to the first corner, as there is Zidane at the track. Of course, we know where he was yesterday. What was I going to say? Yeah, I was going to bring up Mercedes because I wanted to ask you about them. Obviously, this weekend they've struggled a bit. Their car's been a bit too bouncy, and they've struggled in the slow corners a bit. That we saw in Barcelona a bit as well. These upgrades, do you think they're only going to work that they brought, obviously in Barcelona? Do you think they're only going to properly work for them around certain tracks, or do you think this is just an outlier? This track for them, for the Mercedes team.
Well, I feel like just because of the nature of the circuit and with it being so undulating and so bumpy, I feel like most cars probably have been struggling with quite a lot of porpoising this weekend. And I mean, they've been talking about it on the coverage as well. A lot of it is to do with the sidewall of this year's tyre. and it not having as much give. Of course, with the newer regs, you got to run a stiffer suspension with the car lower to the ground. So, of course, around here you're going to have a bit more bumping than usual. So, I mean, I don't think it's just been a Mercedes issue, but I think what we saw last weekend from Mercedes was they were really fast in a straight line because they'd finally figured out the drag issues that the car had been having, which had been causing them to be so slow in a straight line, as we saw at Imola when Hamilton couldn't get past Gasly. So they certainly had fixed that issue of getting rid of the drag issue, but now, of course, it comes to adding a bit more downforce onto the car for Mercedes, and of course, that's where they've struggled a little bit this weekend. But I mean, they've still done a good job considering teams who certainly have had a little bit more downforce in the car, like Alfa Romeo have been quite a bit far down the grid this weekend. So Mercedes obviously trending in the right direction, and I think second half of the season they certainly won't be that far off the top two teams.
Yeah, well, they've got. They did bring a slight upgrade to this Grand Prix of front wing end plate, but I think that was just something that probably the last little bit of upgrades to go with, what they've just brought. Thankfully, it stopped raining around most of the track now, and even you can see there's a bit of sun coming out now, so it looks as though the rain, or at least the worst of it, is gone. But we're still probably got another 20-25 minute wait, I would say, until until the safety car comes back out with the drivers behind it. So thankfully, I think we'll get going hopefully in about half an hour's time. Mercedes apparently are bringing probably their last proper upgrade for the season at Silverstone. I think they're planning a big upgrade package there to try and continue to close the gap. I mean, around Barcelona, it seemed as though they were about half a second per lap off the pace, which is a lot better than they were, obviously, before that Grand Prix, where it was more like a second per lap. Certainly what we saw in Miami, it was about a second or even like 1.2 seconds. I think it might have been in qualifying that weekend. But yeah, a lot better, Mercedes. And we'll see if their upgrades do push them closer. The thing is, though, obviously with them bringing another big upgrade that it looks they're going to do at Silverstone, people, I think rightfully so, not just with them, but also Red Bull and even with Ferrari, certainly, people are asking the question of, how come they're still bringing upgrades when there's, a budget cap? We have heard a lot of talk about the budget cap possibly being increased because of rising inflation. Hopefully they don't do that, because I don't think it would be the right thing to do. And it would give the teams, I think, leeway for the future to try and to lobby the FIA to increase the budget cap. I don't know if you've seen anything about it, but what do you think about that? Do you think it should be increased, or do you think you should just leave it as it is? One thing I will say, quickly before you answer, I did see one comment, I think on racefans.net, that said, if only one team can keep under the cap limit, then everyone can. So, these top teams don't really have much of an argument, really, when it comes to this. What do you think about that?
I mean, I get that expenses for most things in the world at the moment. Inflation is really high across the majority of the world at the moment. But I mean, it's just a classic example of the teams knowing that they hold all of the power in the sport. Obviously, we saw it with the minimum weight limit, that being changed ever so slightly. Of course, it was lifted up 3 kilograms to 798 kilograms. Was it from 795?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if it were to happen. But I must say, we need to be getting going.
Yeah.
We need to be getting going because there's another band of rain forming just out of Nice, heading towards the circuit. So, and that's probably going to intensify as we approach Monaco. So, we need to be getting on a formation lap. We need to be getting behind the safety car because, I mean, certainly where the majority of the water had was stationed before, it looks like it's drained pretty well. So, yeah, I think we need to be getting behind the safety car here.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, with the budget cap situation, yeah. It shouldn't be increased, but I agree with you. I wouldn't be surprised if it was. I will say though, this right here is a great example of why the FIA's procedures are a bit too robotic, because their procedures of it has to be so many minutes before you can, or so many minutes to delay a formation lap, so many minutes if there's a red flag until you get going again, so many minute warning. I understand that they have to give the teams warning, but in the wet, if you're trying to avoid, if you want to try and avoid the cars out there into wetter conditions, the rain and nature does not wait for them. They can't let's say it's going to be in 20 minutes time, we'll get going again, for example. By then it could start absolutely rocketing down again. So I think it's honestly, in these conditions, it's better if they just kept the drivers in the cars with the tires on, and then they could have done some formation laps, or not formation laps. They could have done some laps by the safety car, and then we could be racing by now. And yeah, if another load of band of rain comes down, that is bad. But the drivers would have already cleared a bit of water, because obviously drivers or cars do clear standing water, and because of how, and now the sun is out in a lot of the track, because of the temperature still being quite warm. If it stops raining or rains very little, it's gonna warm or it's gonna dry the track out a lot quicker than other places. So I just think the FIA have got to rethink their procedures around like wet weather running, because we saw that in Spa, where they'd be like, right, 20 minutes until the next possible start, and then literally as they would say that, those 20 minutes we'd see decent weather, and then when it came to the point to get going again, it would start raining really hard again. Which is what I'm saying, is that you can't, I don't think in the rain or in wet conditions you can do it like that. By the way, I've just seen something on Twitter. Don't know if you're seeing it, Nib. Tammy has just quote tweeted it from Sean Kelly, and it shows what the original tyre selection was going to be at the start.
Yeah.
How exciting would that have been? It would have been Leclerc, Sainz, Perez, Max on mediums, Norris and Russell on inters, Alonso on hard, Hamilton, Vettel inters, Ocon hard. God, what a start that would have been. Everyone would have just converged and met each other in the middle, probably.
Yeah. Look at what I'm about to retweet that Haas have just put out.
Let's see.
The classic.
Let's just refresh Twitter, as it looks like it's raining again. Here we go. We know Skipper and mode of transport suited to these conditions. It's Gunter Steiner. Good old Gunter.
Gunter in front of the boat, for of course those that can't see what I've retweeted on Twitter, which I'm sure is all of you.
Well, if you follow me on Twitter, then I'll retweet it as well. And yeah, follow me on Twitter and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. But yeah, soon as we know when we could see some safety car laps, whether it's just a safety car on its own or laps behind the safety car until, when we get that message, I will let you guys know. It is approaching 4 p.m. local time, so we only have really 2 more hours, I would say. Or just over 2 hours, like 2 hours, 15 minutes probably left of daylight. Because of course, you don't want to start the race really after 6 p.m. local time in Monaco, especially with it not being sunny, because obviously it'll get dark quicker if it's if it's wet, or just the sun isn't out. So yeah, they need to get going hopefully very soon. I will say I am very surprised we've not heard any news or seen any warning, or just heard any we hope to be getting going in this many minutes. We haven't seen anything.
I think there's a chance in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think in 5 minutes we'll get the 10-minute warning.
Yeah, hopefully we do.
As if you just want to ponder over to Twitter again, we've had another great tweet, which is keeping us all entertained in the wet.
Yeah, I'll retweet that as well.
As it's, of course, if you haven't seen Valtteri Bottas's beautiful artwork of which he did when he was in America, it's a tweet from motorsport.com saying Valtteri Bottas in his natural habitat, and it's him in the pools at Raskas.
Yeah,
it's quite great.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people in the F1 community would have
He's just tweeted it himself. He's just tweeted it himself of him in the wet.
What was I going to say? Yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of people in the F1 community would have seen this. It was a very nice video, by the way, of Valtteri Bottas presenting Lewis Hamilton with that picture, and yeah, it was great to see that. And it looks to me like the clouds are getting dark again, which might be bad news, might be another band of rain. But yeah, like we've been saying, if they get out there now, they could clear some water and get going here, but they're not. And this is why I said the FIA procedures are a bit too rigid, because again, the weather does not wait. It does not, you can't just get started on the absolute hour or at certain times. You have to just wait and see and react to what the weather does, because the weather obviously is in control, not the FIA. As
well, more importantly, since of course we've got nothing really to talk about, Novak Djokovic has just won in straight sets against Diego Schwartzman.
Yeah, the only other thing going on, I think, at the moment. Michael Massey's trending on Twitter. That's interesting. Yeah. Well, in a minute, it's going to be 10 to 3 UK time and 10 to 4 local time. You would hope there will be a 10-minute warning or something. I will say, I was going to point this out, but I forgot to. But Pierre Gasly's in the garage watching an old onboard of Sebastian Vettel's Ferrari in 2016, where obviously that was the last wet Monaco Grand Prix. So, and just Otmar Safnauer, they're looking at the radar. It looks as though behind that band of weather, which is still kind of about, it looks as though there's nothing really after that to worry about.
No, just look at what I sent you. There's certainly some rain coming from the western side of France.
Right, let's have a look. You sent me. Yeah. The thing is, though, again, if they can get going in the next 10 minutes, by the time that comes, they might be able to withstand it. It doesn't look as bad as what's just happened. I mean, it's still pretty, heavy, but yeah.
Well, Brundle's just said it. This is not junior racing. This is Formula One. Here.
Yeah. And we still haven't heard anything for some reason. I don't understand, because at least that was one thing in Spa. At least they did keep us up to date. The whole race, or the whole, event, with, the next time we had to wait until for a possible restart. We haven't seen anything since the red flag. And people have just stood around waiting, like expecting some sort of announcement, and the FIA are just not. And even on myself now, it's like, come on.
Otmar is certainly not pleased, is he?
No, because it looks fine. It doesn't look that bad. It's just, again, the FIA, they've got to redo their procedures, because it's just very, very poor. And obviously Toto Wolff thinks he's going nowhere, because he's making sure to chat to every hospitality guest. And yeah. We'll hopefully see some announcements soon, because this is getting annoying. And it's like I said, everyone is just stood around waiting for an announcement, because everyone's like, well, looks fine. So, let's get going. But yeah, we'll have to wait. I mean, go on.
Well, unfortunately for us tennis fans here, Nadal versus Felix Auger-Aliassime will be on very shortly, so we'll have two things to watch at the same time, which is not what we want.
No. I mean, Nadal will probably, they'll have that match wrapped up in about a set and a half, so. Again, it's not raining. Weather looks fine now. I mean, the track obviously it's not bone dry or anything, but track doesn't look that bad. Just come on, FIA, give us something. Give us some.
No, this is pathetic.
Yeah, there's just no. Normally, in the past, we have like a some sort of like directive or something. Saying, we'll wait 20 minutes or something to see what happens, but we've not heard anything. The sun's bloody almost come out, pretty much come out. What is going on? Honestly, have the FIA left? Have the race directors abandoned the track? Like, where have they gone? And do you know what? Actually, in hindsight, or not hindsight, but thinking back, what was it that you read out earlier where I think it was the official, they said that the reason they suspended the start procedure is because they could see a band of rain coming.
Yeah.
Stop waiting for rain and just fucking race. This is exactly what they did in Spa. They just waited for the rain to come instead of using the times where it was dry, to their advantage. It's just so frustrating.
Yeah, instead of getting racing in whilst they can. I mean, to be fair, I do somewhat understand them sort of waiting here, because that rain was so heavy, and if teams, we saw drivers were on dry tyres.
Yeah,
like half the grid would have crashed.
Yeah.
So I sort of do understand why, but I mean, at this stage, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I mean, when we were underneath the safety car, it was so much wetter, but yet we decided to go in behind the safety car. I mean, it's pathetic. Like, we've learnt nothing. We've learnt nothing. It's like, are they waiting for the track to be completely dry?
Probably.
Like, what are they doing? What are they doing?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I can't explain it, honestly. The thing is, though, I can understand what you're saying. Like, you know, if they had started the race, obviously the front four would have retired from the race because they would have ended up in the barriers. But if they just mandate that everyone starts on the wet tyres, it'll be fine in this track condition. I mean, they'll probably be on the inters in about 5 laps. There you go. 10-minute signal will be shown at 15:55, which is well, it's just been shown.
Right now.
Yeah. Well, they literally said that like a minute late after it actually happened. So right, so we could. So that means, guys, it looks as though we're going to get the cars back behind the safety car on track in 10 minutes. I guarantee.
I've just seen a very good tweet.
I guarantee, though, Nib, as soon as they get going again, it'll start pissing down, just like usual. Yeah, at the moment it looks absolutely fine. Honestly, this is an absolute joke from the FIA.
I mean, I've just seen a good tweet by an F1 journalist saying Bernie would be having a fit. And that's true. Bernie would be having a fit, but instead of, I think it would be better if Bernie was having a fit instead of trying to bring guns onto aeroplanes.
Yeah.
I think that's what would be better for Bernie.
Trying to have a look. See if anything else. Don't think so. So yeah, we have got. Let me get the timer back up again. Where is it?
I am going to depart for a little bit just before we get back underway.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Boo! Boo!
He was doing that, by the way, because his dad.
Big baldy. Big baldy.
Yeah. Yeah, guys, I've got the timer on screen now. So, I think mine's probably a few, like 30 seconds or so longer than the actual time we'll have to wait, but it's approximate. So, we have about 8 minutes, 8.5 minutes to go until the until we get going again under the safety car. So let me know, guys, in the chat, if it is a wet race, which I think it will be, most likely, and if we do actually have a Grand Prix, let me know what are your top 5 predictions for the race today for the wet conditions. I mean, in the wet, I'm not sure what I would go with, honestly. I haven't got the time really to develop an accurate prediction for myself of just what I think will happen. I mean, I know what drivers will perform well, but that doesn't necessarily mean they'll finish in the top 5. You'd think it'd be, Leclerc, Verstappen, Norris, Russell, Alonso, Hamilton, Vettel, Ricciardo, Sainz, maybe. Just thinking of the drivers, who could put in a good performance. Oh, God, I can see dark clouds coming. That's not good. Great timing, FIA. Jesus fucking Christ. Guarantee, you guys, I guarantee it. They will get going again and it'll start pissing down again. Guarantee it. Meaning that 20-minute period where it was actually quite nice, they could have been racing and could have cleared most of the water before another rain shower came. Because the FIA are just absolutely fucking hopeless at what they do. As everyone's getting into their car, getting their boots cleaned, dried off. And, yeah, Leclerc. We just saw Perez, now Gasly. yeah, we'll see what happens when we get going again. Hopefully, the rain shower, if there's another rain shower coming, which I think there is, hopefully it doesn't quite hit the track as hard as the last big one did. And also, hopefully, it goes kind of around the circuit, because obviously Monaco is not just the circuit layout. There's more to the Monaco city than just that. So, yeah. I mean, the worst of the weather has passed. That is for sure. But you know, what do you call it? But you never know what could happen, because obviously the track's already wet, and if a load of more water goes down, you never know what could happen. But yeah, another 5 minutes or so, and we'll be underway on this. I need to stop calling it a formation lap. It's pretty much, technically, I guess you could say it's formation laps, but I think, more than one formation lap would probably count towards the Grand Prix distance. So I wouldn't be surprised if the race distance is shortened to, like, I don't know, 73 laps or something like that. Wouldn't be surprised at all. But the quicker they get going, the better. They should have been. They should have been underway about 20 minutes ago. It says race will resume at 16:05 local time behind the safety car, which is in about about 4 minutes time from now.
So one of the journos just tweeted out that the race, the 2-hour race time has started now.
Right, good. That's good.
So the time, so we have to finish by 2 a.m. for me, or what is it? It'll be 3 for you.
By 3? You mean?
Sorry, no, by 5, by 5. Sorry.
Oh, right. I was gonna say it's already 3.
Sorry. I've had a mare.
Yeah. So 5 p.m. UK and then 6 p.m. local. Yeah, we'll see if they can get the full amount of laps in, but I think most likely it'll be about 75 or between 73 and 76, I would say, laps we will probably get, because I expect there to be a safety car at some point in this race. And what should happen is, they'll do 2 or 3 laps behind the safety car, and then they will then start the race on the grid. As Verstappen there is about to get going. And the race should, technically begin in a moment, as everyone now is pretty much ready. You can see there, Lewis Hamilton still got that nose stud in. And now 3-minute warning. I'm just waiting. I am for the rain to start hitting, literally as they go out, because I think there's dark clouds over the hills again. Hopefully, if that rain that's coming again, if it can stay off for as long as possible and they can clear enough water, then even if it comes, they might not have to, throw a red flag at it. Hopefully. It's definitely not as bad, that shower that's, I think, coming. That it's not as bad as the one that happened, 40 minutes ago. So, underway in a moment or so, couple minutes. And the safety car will pull out of the pits, and they should all be on full wet tyres, because I think the FIA have mandated it for the start here at this point. Get ready, guys, hopefully, for the start of the proper start of the Monaco Grand Prix, and everyone on medium tyres. So, let me get rid of that countdown, and I'll quickly get up the lap counter. If the laps have been shortened, I'll make sure to readjust it. But it should be, normally, a 78 lap Grand Prix. As
one thing's for sure, we're okay on the rain for the moment, but there's certainly going to be some race later on.
Yeah.
Later on during this Grand Prix.
Yeah, and hopefully, like I said, hopefully it doesn't hit too hard. But yeah, I'd say most likely we're probably going to get a fully wet race, or certainly until the last third of the race. And there you go. Tyre covers are all off for all of the teams. And now they're ready to get out on track. As the light in 15 seconds or 10 seconds probably from now will go green at the end of the pit lane. There you go. So we are back underway technically. Safety car leads the pack away. Of course, I'll remind you of the grid. It is Leclerc, the man who is starting on pole. From Sainz second, Perez third, Verstappen fourth, and then Norris, Russell, Alonso, Hamilton, Vettel, Ocon. And they've already cut a lap out to 77. So then, yeah, the bottom half of the order is Tsunoda, Bottas, Magnussen, Ricciardo, Schumacher, Albon, Gasly, Stroll, Latifi, Zhou. That is your order. So it's a 77 lap Grand Prix, and it says we're on lap 1. So the race has officially begun. There you go. Lap 1 out of 77, and the track looks much, much better than it did about 45 minutes ago. Certainly into Mirabeau. Looks like intermediate conditions in this part of the track, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we need to see once we get into the final sector, because, of course, through the swimming pool, I mean, you literally could have been swimming. And Rascash, that was certainly where it was the wettest. So, yeah, I think we need to see there, and if it's okay there, then get us back underway.
Yeah. I'm obviously the last Monaco Grand Prix out in the wet was 2016. I'm just trying to think how wet that was. Looks similar.
Oh, it was wetter than this.
Yeah.
It was wetter than this.
Well, let's see when we come to the final sector.
I mean, it was really wet in the first sector, I remember.
Yeah.
And it was actually raining, because they would actually allow racing in the rain.
Yeah.
Like, imagine them doing Brazil 2016 nowadays.
Oh, they wouldn't start it. Oh,
yeah.
Someone's crashed. Oh, guess who it is? Your favourite driver, Nib. Nicholas Latifi into the barriers at the Lowe's hairpin. What's he done? Oh dear, that is an absolutely... That is a clown-like mistake. And who's that banging the barriers? That's Lance Stroll, I think. Yeah, it is. Stroll smacked the barriers at the top of the casino square. But, oh god, that was bad, wasn't it, from Latifi?
I prefer not to speak.
So we're on lap 2 out of 77. Latifi then is going to have to pit for a new front wing. So obviously Williams, with what Latifi has done this season, probably haven't done too well with the cost cap on the damage side of things. But we're on lap 2 out of 77. Yeah, Stroll hit the barriers at the top of the casino square. Obviously hit the barriers in practice 3 and had to have his... I think he had to have a new gearbox put in. So hopefully hasn't damaged the car too much, as Stroll now drops to 19th, and now Latifi comes in. Safety car will enter pits. Rolling start. Oh god, that's annoying. I was hoping for a standing start. So the safety car is about to enter the pits. So yeah, it is definitely good enough for racing. So here we go.
I mean, we should have been going 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's just try and get this race started, because I think honestly, once the race starts, I think they'll be fine. In terms of like the track condition, because I think they'll clear the water pretty quickly. especially considering it's still pretty warm and humid. The Stroll and Latifi now are at the back, so Zhou has gained 2 places already. And reminder that everyone is on wet tyres. Obviously, if there are tyre changes during the race, I will update it as the race goes on. I don't expect them, though, to be coming off the wet tyres, probably for at least a few laps at the earliest, but also the teams will be keeping their eyes on the radar, because if there is a load more rain coming, there's obviously no point going from wet to inter. And yeah, I think they'll be on the wets for quite a bit in this Grand Prix. The safety car has come in, and obviously it'll be a rolling start. And Leclerc comes out of the final corner, and Charles Leclerc gets this race underway for Ferrari. Now lap 3 out of 77, and finally the Monaco Grand Prix is underway. Obviously very careful into turn 1, like everyone will be, as for some reason it says Verstappen and Perez are on inters. I don't think they are. As Gasly has pitted as well. So Leclerc leading from Sainz, Perez, Verstappen, and the order is exactly how it was. And yeah, they are putting inters on. I think the Red Bulls actually might be on inters.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a look at if they are, Chaz, and yeah, that's going to be an unsafe release for Lance Stroll. It's very hard to see, but I mean, the teams down the bottom certainly doing the right thing by going on to the inters.
Yep, I mean, they've got to take...
the Red Bulls are on the wets. So that's wrong.
So, but Gasly is on the inters, because we saw that. So Gasly on the inter, and I'll put Latifi on inter on the order as well, because obviously he's pitted, so it probably makes sense that he's put inters on. But Leclerc on this lap is leading by 1.5 seconds, and continues to pull the gap over Sainz. He's not really pushing that hard by the looks of it. And the Red Bulls close behind Carlos Sainz. Perez only just over 1 second behind Sainz, as Leclerc now begins lap 4 out of 77. And of course, we now have this Grand Prix now properly, thankfully, underway. And of course, racing in Monaco around the wet, it is a endurance race. Of course, you need to be as quick as you can, but existing and staying within the barriers is the aim of the game in these conditions, as Leclerc already built his gap up to 2 seconds in the on the lap so far. And yep, Sainz with the Red Bull there just loses a bit on the rear end. And yet Leclerc coming through now to the tunnel, ran slightly wide on that corner, as Leclerc has, of course, done the fastest lap of the race so far, 1:43.2, which is half a minute slower than the pole position time, or just over half a minute slower, sorry, than the pole position time. But it is still Leclerc, Sainz, Perez, and Verstappen. As here is Kevin Magnussen all over the back of Valtteri Bottas for 12th place. As Valtteri, we have seen in the past with Bottas, he's not the greatest in the wet, but he's not doing too bad. He's only just behind Yuki Tsunoda as well.
Hey, he redeemed himself that Turkey Grand Prix in Turkey.
Yeah, that is true. As Magnussen looks to be all over the back of him. Of course, K-Mag is a very talented driver himself. Here it is a Gasly. Oh, over the bump down to Mirabeau. Very, very lucky indeed. He's on the intermediates, of course, and that's a locked front right, and that will only take him straight over the chicane. So, some adventures for Gasly on the first lap. But I believe everybody is on wets except for Gasly and Latifi. As Mick Schumacher has just pitted, I assume for intermediate. So Mick Schumacher is down to 17th place now. As the two Red Bulls are pretty close to each other. It looks like Max is right up with Perez, and I would not be surprised if Max went for a move, if he got close enough, soon enough. But I wouldn't also be surprised if Red Bull told Sergio to move out of the way. As, yeah, I'm pretty sure Mick is on the Inter, and he's actually down to 18th. As the two Red Bulls coming through the swimming pool section, and it's a lot drier than it was. And yeah, it is still as it was with those positions. But the two Ferraris are starting now to pull away. As the two Red Bulls exit the final corner. Sainz is not too far ahead, but it looks as though he is slightly pulling the gap. As there's a team radio there with Daniel Ricciardo, probably talking about, Inters and that. As the only people who have gained positions, obviously through pit stops, are Albon. He's up to 15th, and Zhou has gone from last to 16th place. As Charles Leclerc has done a fastest lap of 1:39. Yellow flag. Is that for Verstappen, I think? I think that might have been Verstappen there. There was a yellow flag in sector 1. Max has dropped back a bit. What's happened? Or was it not him? I don't know. But it looked as though Max was struggling there. Did it not to you, Nib?
No. Max was fine.
But someone's obviously had some sort of moment. I thought it was Max Verstappen because he looked as though he was quite a bit further behind Perez than he was a lap ago. Ocon has passed Vettel, the 9th. So Ocon has made a position there.
Actually, just went 0.2 faster on the Inters and Leclerc's fastest lap. So I think we're going to see some Inters now.
Look at that as well. Alex Albon is all over the back of Ricciardo there. Just saw out of the coming into the tunnel. And there is now a train starting to develop behind Yuki Tsunoda. And I think Albon there. Yeah, Albon's just under pressure there from Zhou Guan Yu in the background. And they've not coming in yet for intermediate tyres, as they're on lap 7 now at a 77. And Carlos Sainz does a fastest lap of a 1:37.9, which is about a second and a half quicker than Gasly, as Vettel and Tsunoda are coming in for intermediate tyres. Here comes Vettel, here comes Tsunoda. So Bottas is up to 10th, Magnussen up to 11th as they both get going again. But Leclerc has a healthy 2-second lead. Norris has got Russell close-ish behind him. Looks almost bone dry to a certain extent, coming in through those final two corners before the tunnel. So Ricciardo is up to 12th, and then you've got Albon in 13th, Zhou in 14th. Gasly has jumped up to 15th now, as Tsunoda is down to 18th. So Gasly, this has worked very well for him because, of course, he qualified a lot lower than he would have started had he got to the line in time at the end of Q1. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, with Gasly not being stuck in that train behind Tsunoda, he's going 5 seconds a lap faster than those cars ahead. So Gasly's certainly going to jump up a little bit here, Chaz.
Okay.
He seriously could be in P10, P11 at this rate.
Yeah, he probably is at this point, as the front drivers, by the way, are staying out on track. I'm just trying to quickly do a couple bit of the tyre graphics. So the bottom 6 drivers on intermediate tyres now. As that's a replay of Mick Schumacher, I think, getting close to the barriers or clipping the barriers.
He certainly did clip it, Chaz.
So Leclerc, so on lap 8 now, Leclerc is leading by 3.5 seconds from Carlos Sainz. And then Sainz about 2 seconds clear of Perez. Verstappen just over a second behind Perez. And then Norris is 5th. Russell just over a second behind him. Alonso 7th, about 3 seconds behind Russell. Hamilton really struggling. He's 5 seconds behind Alonso, and he's losing a lot of time. He just lost a 4/10 there in just a short little interval. And he's gained it all back again.
He lost a second and a half on that previous lap, so he must have made a little bit of a mistake somewhere on that lap.
Yeah, he must have, because his pace, the amount he is behind is quite surprising, as we're on lap 9 out of 77. By the way, reminder, the last 2 wet races in Monaco, Lewis Hamilton has won the pair of them. As, Leclerc keeping the gap kind of 3.5 seconds-ish. Perez slightly quicker, I think, towards the end of that lap. And here is and on board of Russell. And Russell jumping the chicane there, locking his inside front and going off, and thankfully giving the time back to Norris that, would have been gained. But I will say, one thing the teams will be looking at is there is a big gap starting to be formed around Hamilton, Ocon, Bottas. Esteban Ocon is almost 11 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton, and Bottas a further 3 seconds behind. To do a pit stop here, it's just over, I think, 20 seconds, I believe, like 21 seconds or so. So the teams, let's say the top 7, will be looking at that, or, the teams operating, obviously the top 7 cars, they'll be looking at that and thinking they've got a gap nearly, as Pierre Gasly, I think, has closed right up to the back of Zhou Guanyu on those intermediate tyres. So Gasly is on course to jump his way up into the points, like you said, Nib. So Gasly, great in a great position here. As, here we go. So Gasly all over the back of Zhou, and obviously now, even though he's on the inters, he won't be able to utilise his extra pace on those tyres now stuck in traffic, as Leclerc's done a very quick fastest lap of 1:36.5, and he went 1 second quicker than Carlos Sainz on that lap, and he's really starting to pull away now.
6/10.
Oh, it's okay, 6/10.
Yeah, I've got the live timing up on my phone, so he's 6/10 as he's pulled out a 9/10 gap in the first sector on Sainz.
God. As Gasly, the grip really is tough. You can see it on his onboard. There's not really any grip to be had at this circuit. The Leclerc leading dominantly by 4.5 seconds. Carlos Sainz is keeping the gap pretty much between 1.5 seconds and 2 seconds. Yellow flag in sector 1. Who is that? It's gone green now, so maybe someone went wide. As Gasly is climbing all over the back of Zhou. And Gasly,
it's going to be one of the cars that's pitted, so probably Stroll or Latifi.
It says Stroll is actually on the wet tyre. I'll keep him on the Inter, though, because he's going to go on to Inters eventually. As we're on lap 11 now, and Leclerc keeping the gap nice and healthy. As Gasly can get a good release from the Louvre chicane to go down the inside. To back, no, he cannot. This is costing him so much because Ocon ahead, who's kind of ahead of this little pack, is 13.5 seconds behind Hamilton. It's costing Gasly getting any further up the field. He's got to pass Zhou really on this lap or in the next few corners because he's losing bag loads of time. Can he get a good release from the final corner? No, he cannot. I have to say, grip on that pit straight seems to be pretty poor. Another yellow flag in Sector 1. It's a Williams. I just saw it's Albon has gone down the escape road. And he's come back out again. So he's done what everyone has done so far this weekend. And it's just gone straight down the escape road. So Albon is down to... hold on. He's down to 16th position, I believe, as Gasly still all over the back of Zhou. And Vettel not too far behind. Of course, Sebastian Vettel also on the intermediate tyres. And yeah, Lance Stroll, by the way, is on intermediate tyres. I think they've changed the graphic now for him. So there you go. As it's now lap 12 out of 77, and the top 10 are all still out there on wet tyres as the track continues to dry. And even towards the end of the lap, you can see a dry line starting to form. So,
well,
as Leclerc does another fastest lap.
Yeah, I mean, for about certainly 5 laps now, there's certainly been a dry line through Casino Square. So yeah, the track is certainly drier in the first sector than what it is through the latter part of the lap, but yeah, just still not able to get past here, Pierre Gasly. Of course, it's very hard to place your car alongside another car going into turn 1 at Monaco, but yeah, I mean, as you see, the run up the hill is looking pretty dry.
Yeah, at this rate, I think it's worth definitely the top 4 possibly doing what Hamilton, as Gasly down the inside of Zhou at the Mirabeau, and he gets it done. So Gasly is up to 13th, and now has got to get after the next car, which is Daniel Ricciardo. Of course, Gasly on the Inter, he's got probably the fastest car on the track in clean air with those tyres. So he needs to get now after Ricciardo.
Well, I was just wondering, Chaz, that it actually might be the plight of most of the cars on track, because if these guys if Ocon, Bottas, Magnussen, Pitt, they're going to be behind pretty much everyone except for Latifi.
Yeah.
So I wonder if all of them are just going to continue to stay out in the wet, as Bottas just did it absolutely... Sorry, not... I can't even... Ocon just did a very fast sector.
As Ricciardo there, all over the place, trying to defend his position from Gasly there. Probably being a bit too aggressive in defending, because Gasly will surely pass him as the track continues to dry out. Sebastian Vettel now all over the back of Zhou Guanyu as they're on lap 13 now. And Gasly surely, as the white flag just waved there for some reason. Hopefully someone hasn't broken down. Gasly should have a good go here into Mirabeau. Will he? Nope, not quite. Gonna possibly try and get a better run through Mirabeau. Ricciardo looks as though he's crawling around the track. This is incredibly slow speed. And Perez says it's definitely Inter's now. But will they think it'd be better to stay out and go on dry tyres instead of going from wet to Inter? As Gasly comes through the tunnel, will he make a move down the inside on Daniel Ricciardo? Nope. And looking in the background, no, Vettel is not having a go at Zhou either. But this battle continues, and Gasly down the inside into the swimming pool. Great driving from the Frenchman, and he is up to 12th. And Ricciardo surely will think about coming in for a pit stop, as Zhou is still under quite a bit of pressure from Vettel. And I didn't see whether Ricciardo came in or not, but yeah, Gasly Very good move from him. And Ricciardo just on traction out of the back had no speed whatsoever.
Yeah, I think Ricciardo had completely overcooked his tyres there.
Yeah, I think like I was saying, didn't necessarily have to defend that hard because I think he might have cooked his tyres a bit. But with this dry line, I think actually, Nib, I think that's what the teams are doing. The people are still on wets. I think they're trying to wait until it's dry enough for dry tyres so they can skip a pit stop. Because surely they would have come in by now, because clearly Gasly, in clean air, Gasly is the quickest driver on the track. But he's still miles behind. He's just
gone 7/10 fastest in the first sector than anyone else.
Yeah. It's just Gasly.
And Sainz has said we are going to go straight to dry.
Yeah. It makes sense for these front four because they're way ahead of Gasly. Gasly is just trying to think how far he is behind. He's probably between 35 and 40 seconds off the lead, Gasly, at the minute.
Yeah, because I've got the live timing up, I can tell you he is 58 seconds off the lead at the moment.
Oh dear. Okay, that is a lot. So yeah, Gasly would have to. He'd need another 40 seconds to get inside the pit window.
But Chaz, he has just gone 2 seconds quicker than anyone else on track through the middle sector. So it's certainly time for Inters, but I think it might just be too late for everyone else to go onto them. I think perhaps for maybe Hamilton, Alonso, Russell, Norris, I think they could perhaps risk it and go on an Inter, but who knows?
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And Gasly just did a fastest lap of 1:31.2. And he's now just over a second behind Kevin Magnussen. And Magnussen is only a second behind Bottas. That might hurt Gasly because Magnussen has a slight slipstream ahead off of Bottas. But we know Magnussen is very tough in defence, so this might not be the easiest overtake. And box to Lewis Hamilton. They're going to go for it. And I think, Nib, they have the gap to come out 9th. Because Bottas, that group of Bottas, Magnussen, Gasly is about 22 seconds behind, I believe.
Yeah, he should come out ahead of Bottas.
Yeah, so we'll see if that does happen. And yeah, Bottas, Magnussen, Gasly just exiting the final corner, and Hamilton already, I think, has done the pit exit. So let me just do his compound at the minute. There you go. He's down to 9th, only one position lost, thankfully. That's great for Hamilton, by the way. That could really put him in this race now, because he's not lost that much, and he won't lose really any time doing that. He'll gain all that pit stop lost time back if the others stay out on wets, as Leclerc is going to stay out yet again and start lap 17. As box, they say to Sergio Perez, they're going to try and push Ferrari here into making a tough decision. And Perez pits. So Verstappen up to 3rd, and then Norris and Russell should go up to 4th and 5th. There you go. There's Norris. And where's Russell? Very important to know. There he is. He's right behind Perez. And he will come out ahead. That's critical to Sergio Perez. So now we are going to see what Ferrari are going to do. Will they pit? Surely they've got to... Well, they've got to make a decision now. Are they going to stick with the wet tyre and then go straight to dries? Or are they going to go for the Inters?
Well, Chaz, Hamilton on his fresh intermediates has gone 4 seconds quicker than Russell in the middle sector.
Oh dear.
On his outlap.
Well, I think Ferrari, certainly with Carlos Sainz, won't... If they pit now, they'll come out behind him then. Will a Ferrari with Sainz against Perez. So they've got to, I think, just No, they're going to box him. I think that's a mistake, to be honest, because it looks as though it's going to be dry enough for dry tyres soon. I don't think that's the right decision, because I think he is going to lose second place, because Perez surely will jump him. Perez is about to pass Lando Norris for 4th on the track. So it's now lap 18. And yellow flag in sector 2. Green flag, though, someone probably jumping jumping the chicane, probably. Lando Norris pits for McLaren. So he drops down to 4th. He'll drop behind Russell.
Sainz hasn't pitted because they've realised.
Yeah.
They've probably realised.
Thank God they did, because if they made that decision, that would have lost them a position for sure. If they keep them out and go on to dries, that will save their day, as Norris is down to 7th now. So let me just quickly...
As Verstappen's just gone purple in the first sector on these wets.
Oh dear, that is incredible. As Lewis Hamilton, this is a replay. Oh, he's touched Ocon there at turn 1, similar to him and Maldonado 10 years ago or 11 years ago. And Hamilton, thankfully, didn't do what he did to Maldonado that day, which is put him up in the barriers. As Leclerc has been told to box. Right, let me just quickly do the... As Leclerc has pitted. And this should, as Verstappen pits as well, so Sainz, they're going to keep out. The Sainz is up to 1st. Let's see where Sergio Perez is. I think Perez might jump into the lead here. Where's Perez? There you go. Perez leads. Sergio Perez has the net lead of the Monaco Grand Prix. Ferrari have been caught unawares. They've been caught on their back foot. And they've lost the lead here in Monaco. Oh dear for them. Verstappen is now 4th. Well, he was 4th, but he, comes out in 4th place there.
What are they thinking? What are Ferrari thinking?
Clearly, a bit too laid back and chilled. There's track limits for Alex Albon was saying. Yeah, clearly, just not paying attention. That's what they were doing.
I mean, Perez did a 25.2.
Yeah. 25.2, and Sainz, well, the only hope for Carlos Sainz is that they, keep him out and put him on dries. That might actually save them, but Perez will probably be up behind Carlos Sainz in about 5 corners. And you might be thinking that I'm over-exaggerating, but trust me, I am not. Perez is going that quickly compared to Carlos Sainz that he could legitimately be all over the back of him, and Sainz hasn't pitted. Alex Albon has. Right, let me just sort a couple things out. To me, it looks like they're going to be on dry tyres very soon, as there's a Williams who's been lapped now. As Pierre Gasly, by the way, is just stuck eternally in that train, and that has cost him massively here. But it is Sainz leading on the wets. Perez is 2nd. Leclerc 3rd. Verstappen 4th. They're on inters. And then Russell 5th. Alonso 6th. They're on wets. Norris is 7th on inters. Ocon 8th on wets. Hamilton, look at this. Lewis Hamilton. This is like Senna and Mansell back in the day, but just not that important of a battle as that. As Hamilton, no, won't be able to make a move down the inside, I don't think, as we're on lap 20 out of 77, but he's all over Ocon, and Ocon doing a great job of defending. Hamilton's got damage to his front wing end fence, I've just seen. The problem's there. Gasly has just passed Magnussen. I just want to update some of the order quickly, because obviously we've been looking up the order. Vettel is up to 13th. Ricciardo and Zhou are pitted. As Hamilton making Ocon look like an F2 driver at the moment.
And this is great defending by Ocon, doing what Hamilton did to Verstappen, of course. When was it? Was it 2018?
2019. Obviously, not going to mention the other year that it's similar to, but as Ocon and Hamilton going to the chicane. Yellow flag in sector 1. Is that for the McLaren or someone else? I don't know. Someone might have gone deep at turn 1. Oh, dry tyres. Dry tyres. Ricciardo's on dry tyres on the hard. So on lap 21 now. And Ricciardo has gone...
Verstappen just went 4 seconds faster than Leclerc on that lap.
Wow. That is incredible, considering they're on the obviously same tyre life. Obviously, he's a lot more confident. And Max Verstappen, a 1:24.8. Very, very quick lap. I will say, I'm surprised Perez is not all over the back of Sainz. Maybe just looking after his tyres, which could be possible. But, right. Everything moving around very dramatically here. As Hamilton, no, you're not going to go around the outside of Mirabeau. Will you go down the inside of the hairpin? No. And they're now going to box Carlos Sainz. Why? Why? You may as well wait. Or are they going for dry tyres? They're going for dry tyres.
Not going dries, yeah.
So let's see what happens here. They're going to go for the hard compound tyre. I'm going to quickly just hide the tyre graphic on my screen because I can't keep it up to date at the moment. I'll do it when I can.
And they pit Leclerc.
Yeah, they pit Leclerc as well. So Leclerc, it's Sainz and Leclerc 3rd and 4th now. So Perez and Verstappen are out there on inters. And Sainz there has to let the Williams go. And oh, that's bad for Leclerc. He's come up behind Norris. Behind Norris is on inters. So, oh God, this is mental. This is. Let me just try get the lap right quickly. So lap 22. Go on.
Ferrari have absolutely cocked Leclerc's race for absolutely no reason.
I know. It's very stupid what they've done. So it's Norris 4th now, Leclerc 5th, Russell is 6th on the hard, Hamilton is 7th, Ocon is now pitted for dry tyres, so Hamilton has been shafted, as you would say, Nib, in this race. Because now he will lose time to those dry tyres. Whereas as Perez comes in for dry tyres, let's see if Perez can hold on to the lead. And Verstappen, obviously, coming in as well. As we're on to lap 23. And the pit stops. Verstappen's was slightly slower than Perez's, but they should be fine. Where are the Ferraris? And I can't see Sainz, so Perez is in the lead. There's a Ferrari of Sainz there. Perez got to get up to speed now. Lots of racing up ahead of him with the Haas and the Alfa Romeo. Sergio Perez, on merit, leads in Monaco. And Verstappen, he's got Leclerc on the back of him. He's done it. Verstappen has jumped Leclerc. What a disaster for Ferrari. And it's all of their own making as Hamilton now pits. And the sun comes out, and the sun must feel glorious for those Red Bull drivers. And they might be struggling at the moment for tyre warm-up. But give it a lap or so, and they'll be absolutely fine as Sainz closes the gap a bit to Perez. But Ferrari, I said yesterday in qualifying, it would be peak Ferrari to blow a 1-2 at Monaco, and that's exactly what they have done. Perez leads then. Let me just update the order. Perez leads, Sainz is 2nd, Verstappen 3rd, Leclerc 4th for the championship. That is critical. Russell has jumped up to 5th. Norris is 6th. Alonso is still on wet tyres in 7th place. Actually, no, I don't think he is. I think they've just not changed the graphic yet. As these two, Verstappen and Leclerc, very close. On track, Leclerc all over the back of Max, and they're trying to lap. Oh, Leclerc there got all in the water and almost spun on the pit straight as they're trying to lap the traffic. That was so close, Nib, to a colossal accident.
That was a ridiculous save by Leclerc. He was sideways, completely sideways.
He was. So, right, let me just sort out the running order. So we're on lap 24. Perez leading, Sainz second, Verstappen third, Leclerc fourth, Russell, Norris, Alonso, Hamilton, Vettel, Ocon. So the top 10 is pretty much was still the 10 drivers. Verstappen. He cut the pit exit line. He'll get a penalty for that, I think. Certainly Ferrari will be lobbying the FIA like crazy for that, as Russell has done a fastest lap of 1:23.6.
I must say, Russell much faster than anyone else on track at the moment.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to see. He was about 4 seconds faster than anyone else on circuit at the moment, because everyone else is struggling to warm up these hard compound tyres.
Yeah, and obviously hard. For some reason, Alex Albon has gone onto the medium. It's because they want to get to the end without having to make another pit stop. It makes sense, of course. Verstappen, at least this time, is not under pressure, as Perez there just lapping Zhou. And Sainz is not going very quickly, because he's lost quite a bit of time to Perez, and now Verstappen is quite close behind him. So, your top 10. The only driver on intermediate tyres is Lance Stroll. Sebastian Vettel was on Inters a moment ago, and he has eventually pitted and gone on to hard. So, it's Bottas 11th, Vettel 12th, Gasly 13th, and then Ricciardo, Tsunoda in 15th. Lando Norris now does a 22.8. As here's a replay of Leclerc. And yeah, that is it says Sainz, but I'm pretty sure that was Leclerc. And that was a great save.
No, that was Sainz, because that was Sainz's helmet.
Oh, so they was that, so that save, was that from Leclerc or Sainz that we saw live, or was it both of them?
I wonder if it might have been actually both of them that have done it, but that replay was certainly Sainz.
Right. Well, they're about to start lap 26 at a 77. And Lance Stroll has just pitted, so Bottas is now into the points. That'll be good for Alfa Romeo, just as he appears on my screen. So Bottas up to 10th, and then Vettel, Gasly 12th. Here's a replay of Albon, who has pitted. Oh, dear. Oh, he's got a puncture. There you go. So that's why Albon is on mediums and is at the very back of the field. So, yeah, top 10. It is Perez leading the Monaco Grand Prix from Sainz second, Verstappen third, Leclerc fourth, Russell fifth. Russell, by the way, and Norris are both very quickly catching the front four by the looks of it, or at least they were. Russell fifth, Norris sixth.
2 seconds faster than, to cut in, but Russell's 2 seconds faster than Leclerc in that previous lap. He is certainly the fastest car on track at the moment.
Wow. As Perez there. One thing is great to see, Perez, Sainz, Verstappen, Leclerc, the front four, all very close to each other, pretty much within a second of all one another, and having to lap the traffic, which is a great, well, you have to be very skillful to do so. Perez slightly on the wet stuff there. Yellow flag for some reason, sector 3. And Verstappen all over the back of... Oh, no! Oh, no. That is a horrible crash.
Shit.
As well, Magnussen has retired. I didn't know that. I was wondering where he was. And that is... Yeah. And virtual safety car has obviously come out. It's Mick Schumacher has had a very bad accident by the looks of it. At the swimming pool, it's exactly where Daniel Ricciardo crashed. So let's hope he's okay.
And this looks significantly bigger than Daniel Ricciardo's crash.
Yeah, it does. So, oh, thank God he's okay. There you go. Mick Schumacher get out of the car. Thank God. Thank God. Honestly, if there is one. Because the first thing we saw, wasn't it? His rear end, look at that. His rear end and his gearbox completely ripped from his car. And he's lost it in the swimming pool section. And that is going to cost a few hundred or a few tens of thousands of dollars to get that repaired. That is an absolutely enormous shunt. That might be one of the biggest crashes I've seen at Monaco. Literally, the rear end and the gearbox literally fell off his car after he hit the barriers. That is colossal. Here's a replay of on board. Through the fast chicane, and yeah, just lost it through the middle, just applied too much throttle, hit the barriers, and then bang. Safety car deployed. So both Haas's are out. But Nib, thankfully, he's okay, because that looked absolutely horrible.
Yeah, that was really, really bad. But thankfully, of course, everything working as intended with the survival cell and the crash structures on the car. Everything's done its job properly, and of course, we've seen Mick have a crash like this, of course, early in this season in Jeddah, and thankfully he is okay after that one. As this is going to be a bit of a lengthy delay because, of course, we're going to have to repair that Tech Pro barrier as well. So
red flag.
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah. We'll see. Obviously, they need to remove the car first to see the damage. But we have a safety car. It is lap 28. I think it's best now now get all the tyres correctly for who's on what. So everyone is on the hard except for Albon. And obviously Schumacher and Magnussen, the two Haas's, are out of the race. Have you ever seen, obviously with Grosjean, we thought, wow, we've never seen that before, but I've never seen that. Literally the rear end, like perfectly, the rear end of the car fell off as he hit the barriers. I've never seen that before. Yeah, he's okay, thankfully. But we just saw, didn't we, with Ricciardo in practice too. That is one of... That and the run down to the Nouvelle chicane is probably the two worst places you want to be losing control of your car, because you can have big accidents. When we saw with Perez at the chicane, didn't we, in 2011, that he got a concussion. Yeah. And there's been that part of the track where Mick has crashed. There's been plenty of heavy crashes there. There was one in F2. Was it yesterday? Or the day before? Can't remember who it was.
I don't know. I haven't watched F2 this weekend.
Yeah. I can't remember who it was, but it was a very big accident in F2. I think it might have been Jake Hughes or something like that. Anyway, we are on lap 29 at 77. The safety car is still out. No sign of a red flag at the moment. So I'll just... get the tyres all correct. I will say, now they're all on dry tyres, does make things, I guess, more exciting in terms of closing the field up, but not sure if it makes the race more exciting overall. As thankfully... Go on.
It was quite funny seeing the marshals almost use the rear end of Mick's car almost as a wheelbarrow. Just rolling it around. I think whilst they get some repairs going to the barrier, I shall depart just for a moment.
Okay. But, yeah, lap 29, guys, out of 77. We are not even at half distance yet. We've still got another, once they complete this lap, another 8 laps or so, I think, until half distance. So... we are nowhere near done in this Grand Prix. But I'm just quickly doing the tyres quickly. Everyone on hard except for Albon at the very back. So I'll just quickly get that sorted for you guys. And almost done. And yeah, that was a colossal accident. And yeah, me and Nib, I think rightfully silent there because that looked really bad. Obviously, when you see a crash like that, your worst fears come to the forefront of your mind at that point. Right. Here we go. On the left-hand side, you can see now the tyres all displayed. So everyone is on the hard compound except for Alex Albon. And of course, Schumacher and Magnussen, the two Haas's, are out of the race. Which is why, of course, it says retired. As we're on lap 30 out of 77. And yeah, not even at half distance yet. And I'm hoping we won't be able, or won't have to, sorry, go under safety, under red flag conditions. Hopefully that is not the case. Of course, we want to keep the race running. Here's a replay again of Mick, and just simply apply too much throttle through that section, and that's what caused the accident. And yeah, what a bit. Oh no, red flag. Red flag. So the race has been stopped. And not a surprise. I have to say, it was more hope that we wouldn't have to have a red flag, but a red flag is what we have to have. The reason is because the barrier is needs repairing. So we have a red flag here in Monaco. And yeah. Thankfully, we've already got a good chunk into this race so far. And you have lap 30 out of 77. And the cars now will park up at the exit of the pit lane. And then hopefully within the next 20 minutes, I'd hope that barrier's not too hard, or the Tech Pro is not too hard to fix there. And then we should get going again. And the leader of the race, just to remind you guys of the order, as we're on lap 30 out of 77 with a red flag. And still, we are nowhere near the conclusion of this race. Sergio Perez leads in Monaco. Carlos Sainz is in second. Third is Max Verstappen. Fourth is Charles Leclerc. Fifth is George Russell. And Russell, by the way, has the fastest lap of the race currently. And then is Norris 6th, Alonso 7th, Hamilton 8th, Ocon 9th, Bottas 10th, Vettel 11th, Gasly 12th. Gasly, by the way, great race so far. Ricciardo 13th, Stroll 14th, Tsunoda 15th, Zhou 16th, Latifi 17th, Albon 18th, everyone on the hards except for the medium tired runner of Alexander Albon. And the only two retirements, the two Haas's of Mick Schumacher and Kevin Magnussen. But like I said, I don't think we'll have to wait a super long time to get going again, because that barrier doesn't look as though it's going to be, the Tech Pro doesn't look as though it's going to be, you know, very, very hard to fix. As Leclerc looks very pissed off. And he should be, because his team have absolutely bottled it, as they usually do. Anytime, this is precisely why I never thought, and I said this at the start of the season, and I still think it now, and I thought this even when they were winning in Melbourne like they were, when tough decisions have to be made in a race, and the big moments come in a race, Ferrari, most times than not, bottle it, and they've done it yet again. As is a replay of Leclerc and Max. That is still one thing to look at, is Max. Obviously, he cut the pit exit line, I believe. It's hard to see, though, on his onboard because of the halo and the way the camera is. So I don't know for sure. I think you're back, aren't you, Nib?
I'm back. Yep.
So yeah, red flag. Obviously, we expected that. Yeah. So whilst we're waiting, which I don't think will be a long time, hopefully not too long. Let's talk about Ferrari. What were they thinking with what they did?
Well, quite simply, they weren't thinking. I mean, I don't understand how we can sit here and make better strategy calls than Ferrari, like, are able to do. Like, I know they've obviously got a lot more information than us, but it was just never going to work. They should have stuck to their original plan. They did exactly what Red Bull wanted them to do. They played right into Red Bull's hands. It was just such a silly decision by Ferrari, and I mean, Leclerc should have won this Grand Prix, but instead he's probably going to finish fourth unless there's some serious things happen. And of course, now that we're under the red flag, I should say, of course, teams can change their tyres now.
Wow, I just seen what you sent me a couple minutes ago. That is it. That is very impressive on Twitter. Yeah. That is very, very impressive. I mean, I'll have to look back later, but Did Leclerc pit the next lap after Perez, or was it 2 laps? I think it was 2, wasn't it?
I can't remember, to be honest.
I think it was 2 laps later is when he pitted. The thing is, though, I mean, Perez, he wasn't close to Leclerc. Like, close. He was like, what, 6 seconds, I think, behind Leclerc by the time of the pit stop or something like that. But they should have suspected that Red Bull would have tried something because of what was going on at the time. But also, if they did leave Leclerc out 2 laps longer than Perez, again, what are you doing? What are you doing? Leaving him out for that long when everybody could see with the data, and you could obviously see it because you're watching the data live, and obviously you're not the only one watching it live. They are literally watching it on the broadcast, on the screens on the pit wall. They can literally see what is going on.
Oh, and they can see mini sectors as well.
Like, yeah, exactly.
They can see a lot more. They can see a lot more than me, than who's got the live timing on my phone, which is about like it's just madness. Like, as we've said this for such a long time, this is why Ferrari will never compete with Red Bull and Mercedes over a whole entire season. I mean, just because they're too unreliable with the strategy.
Yeah. Funny you said that that we're able to sit here and make better strategy calls. How many times in 2019 when we did these did we say, oh, they should pit now, or they should do this, do that, and then they ended up doing something completely different that ended up just being a stupid decision? They do it so often. They just cannot. They just don't. They don't. I just don't think they're smart enough. I don't think they have the knowledge of what to do in pressurized, or not just pressurized situations, but just in these type of situations. I just don't think they know quite what to do, and especially when the pressure's on, they just don't make good decisions. We've seen it yet again. So at the moment, obviously, we'll see what happens with Max in terms of the possible penalty or something. We'll see what happens there, if there is anything. But I didn't see clear evidence that he crossed the pit exit line, to be honest. But I just want to say, in terms of the championship, this at the moment is looking very bad for Leclerc. Very, very bad. Because at the moment, Max is on to extend his lead from 6 to 9 points. And also, Nib, Sergio Perez is going to put himself really into the championship fight, because obviously he's currently on 25 points, and Perez is only 25 points behind Verstappen in the standings coming into this race. So looks as though it's going to be a bit of a three-way fight, given the way things are looking at the moment. But like I said, we have three. We have over half race distance still to go. So there is still plenty of time to go. But at the minute for the championship, it is a diabolical situation for the Ferrari team.
Yeah, race will restart in 11 minutes. Rolling start.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, race will go on.
And just before we go, don't forget, of course, with the new rules now. We're currently on lap 30, of course. We need 39 laps for half points, and then 58 laps for full points.
Right.
And we've got 56 minutes left on the clock. So if there's another incident, we might not get full points in this race. Who knows?
Doesn't the clock stop in a red flag period?
Because it's 3 hours total from the start, from the thing though. So They changed the rules. I'm terrible at explaining it, but yeah, because the 2 hour clock doesn't stop from when it started an hour and 5 minutes ago.
Right. No, I understand what you mean. I think they made it up to Spa that the event has to have finished 3 hours after the scheduled start. Is that what it is?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember, to be honest. There's so much to deal with after the Spa rule update.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Like you said, if we get to about 60 laps, then yeah, maybe they'll just call the race there. Maybe they'll decide when we get going again to do a rolling start at 17:15 local time, which obviously for our time would be about 8 minutes from now. What was I going to say? Leclerc, in terms of he couldn't gain because he had to wait a couple seconds there behind Sainz, so that cost him even more. That's why Max kept ahead of Leclerc. What was I going to say? Yeah, when the race gets going again, I wouldn't be surprised if they got rid of the lap counter and just did a countdown if they believe there's no chance of getting the 77 in fully. So we'll see what happens on that. But yeah, just to let you guys know, 7.5, or it's now 7 minutes to go until the safety car will lead the cars back out, and then it'll be probably just one lap and then a rolling start. So Perez will lead the pack away out of the final corner and begin lap 31, and then we'll be racing again. Also, quickly, guys, don't forget, I will be live probably about 45 minutes after the race finishes, whenever that is. So don't forget to come along to my race reaction stream. Again, 45 minutes after the stream finishes. And as well, don't forget, if you are new to the channel, to subscribe for more content like this, because I will be, and obviously we will be, doing qualifying race watch-alongs for all the rest of the races this season. The bottom right of the screen, subscribe right there if you are new here. And as well, don't forget to smash the like button and share this video and channel everywhere you can. And as well, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at ChazHD5. But we are, moments away from the restart. Another, 5.5 minutes or so. And Sergio Perez is staring ahead. Apparently, instead doing his belts up, and he knows all he's got to do is keep it together and he will win this race. He's had a podium here in 2016. He has had some great races here in the past, and if he just keeps it together, he will finish as the race winner. And this will definitely be, unless he wins in Mexico later this year or any time in his career, this will be his finest Grand Prix of his career. Of course, he's only got one victory in his, or two victories, sorry, his F1 career. Bahrain in 2020 and Baku last year, almost exactly a year ago. As the drivers are all back into their cars, and we'll see how, and we'll see obviously what they do on the restart. What would you expect now, Nib? Would you expect just obviously no more pit stops probably, but in terms of, you know, the order, will it stay the same, or, you know, what could you see happening?
I mean, Perez is going to try absolutely sorry, not Perez. Well, Perez is of course going to try everything to hold on to his lead, but also I think you're going to see Verstappen try and get into second, because if they're able to get a 1-2 here, would be absolutely amazing for Red Bull and would be a devastating blow for Ferrari after the dominant position they were in. Of course, it's going to be interesting to see what tyres they do go on to.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
so hopefully we're able to find that out relatively soon.
The thing is, though, I mean, maybe a certain team would want to put on a set of mediums to try and, you know, benefit their driver throughout position, but I honestly think they'll stay on the hard because they don't want to be making another pit stop, I don't think. But yeah, you never know what could happen. Apparently Leclerc has said on team radio, "We have lost," and also said apparently I'm just looking obviously at Tammy's post. Apparently Leclerc's engineer said told Leclerc to stay out too late, and then Leclerc on radio said fuck and then said come on what the fuck when he was held up a lot by Alex, and that was about 30 minutes ago. So yeah, they were going to pit him, and then they told him probably as he came round Rascasse or something, stay out, and that was the killer blow. So race will resume in Rook makes a good point. If Leclerc and Verstappen crash and retire, then Checo is right in it for the Drivers' World Championship. He would be. It'd probably be, if he gets the fastest lap, he'd probably take the lead by a point or something. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully, honestly, I hope Perez does keep the lead. I mean, I've always had a soft spot for him. He's never really, until the last couple of years of his career, got the credit he deserved, and he's now showing how good of a driver he is, and I would love it if he won in Monaco. That would be such a sweet result, honestly. But hopefully, to be honest, we just get a very exciting rest of the race, and whoever wins, wins. But in 2 minutes' time, the race will get back underway. And there you go. So lap 30 it is out of 77. And again, it is Sergio Perez who will be the lead car on the rolling restart. Second is Carlos Sainz. Third, Verstappen. Fourth, Leclerc. Fifth, Russell. Sixth, Norris. And then Alonso, Hamilton, Ocon, Bottas complete the top 10. Vettel, Gasly, Ricciardo, Stroll, Tsunoda, Zhou, Latifi, Albon is from 11th to 18th. And then your two retirements are Schumacher and Magnussen, 19th and 20th. Of course, the two Haas's. And yeah, we'll see what happens with the tyre choices. I'd imagine they'll just stick with the hard, the majority of them, because the aim on strategy really is to stay out and not come back in again, as that barrier, they've done the best they can, but it's not at its absolute best, obviously, but that's the best they can do. As what, another minute or so, and then it should be time to get going here in Monaco.
Sorry, Chess, there are so many things going on at the moment. that I'm not able really to speak. We've got, of course, we've got the tennis. Australia have just won their first Giro d'Italia, which is the Italian cycling Grand Tour. So
Right.
lots of things going on at the moment. But now we're back onto F1.
Yeah. Right. Let's see. And what tyres were those? On Verstappen's, that looked like hard, didn't it? Medium tyres. So they're going to try and get after Sainz. Well, we'll see what everyone else is on in a moment.
I'm going to try and check on the available
That's
things
Ferrari.
I have.
Leclerc's on the hard. Max on the medium. What about Sainz and Perez? Sainz on the hard. And then Perez, I assume, surely they keep Perez on the hard. Because obviously Max needs softer tyres at this point than Carlos does. As now the safety car takes the cars back out of the pits. And the race officially is back underway, but obviously we're still under a safety car. So it's Perez, Sainz, Verstappen, Leclerc, your top four, and then Russell, Norris, Alonso, Hamilton, Ocon, Bottas, the rest of your top 10. Looks to be the same for me as I think Leclerc here needs to let through. Oh no, Perez is on the medium as well. So both Red Bulls opting for the medium, both Ferraris opting for the hard compound. As now we're on lap 31 out of 77. Perez, go on.
Sorry, Chaz. I don't think that tyre wear is going to be an issue, though. Do we think? Like
towards the end,
I
it
think
could
that
be.
this. Yeah, but I mean, you're still not really going to be able to overtake. I mean, we saw you couldn't even overtake for a couple of laps with whilst drivers were on the wet tyres and others being on the intermediates. Like, it's still going to be a big challenge. So I think Verstappen on the medium is going to be one to watch, of course, on the start. But with it being a rolling start, it's going to be, I mean, ridiculously tough for him to get up into second place.
Yeah, but if he gets a good run and catches Sainz a bit, deer in headlights, then he could do it. And if he was to get second, I don't think he'd have a problem letting Perez win because he knows he'd get that important, more points over Leclerc, which is still, even if he doesn't get second, that's still very important. So, as we're about to get going, Perez, Verstappen, Russell, Alonso, Hamilton, Ocon, Tsunoda, Zhou, Latifi and Albon are on mediums. Everybody else is on the hard. So they're still letting the traffic through. So I don't think we're going to get going, are we, on this lap? Will probably be the next lap, won't it? Yeah, it will. So safety car will stay out and we'll be back underway on the end of lap 32 out of 77. Yeah, Perez, he should get on those tyres, as long as he warms the tyres up correctly, he should get a great release off of the final corner. And yeah, we have begun the new lap. And yeah, so it's Perez. One more reminder before we get going. Perez leading from Sainz second, Verstappen third, Leclerc fourth, Russell fifth, Norris 6th, Alonso 7th, Hamilton 8th, Ocon 9th, Bottas 10th, Vettel will start 11th with Gasly 12th, Ricciardo 13th, Stroll 14th, and then Tsunoda 15th, Zhou 16th, Latifi 17th, Albon 18th, and your two retirements again, Schumacher and Magnussen, the two Haas's. I don't actually know why Magnussen retired, but I'll find out after the race finishes. Yep, the safety car will enter the pits at the end of this lap.
Gonna have 40 minutes left on the clock.
Right, so we should, if there's no more safety cars, we should get in at least 30 more laps. Maybe 35, wouldn't you say? Probably. For like a minute 15 lap.
Yeah, probably 30 or so.
Yeah. So we should still get the full points awarded. As now.
I'm going to try and find out why Haas have retired Magnussen for you.
Right, okay. Cheers. So, the safety car takes Perez and the pack.
Yep, so Magnussen retired due to a system water pressure loss.
Right. That was just before, like 2 laps before Schumacher crashed, unfortunately. So Haas's day ending very quickly. Sergio Perez looks as though he's already getting on with it. Yep, there you go. Perez already going for it. So Sergio Perez gets us going again and leads the Monaco Grand Prix. Now on lap 33 out of 77, and Verstappen quite a bit behind. And I think Perez has left the field a bit surprised at how early he went, to be honest. And that was a very nice restart, as he's now 8 tenths clear of Carlos Sainz, who is in second. And we'll see how this medium compound tyre performs. He locked up because of the birds, didn't he? Was that because of the bird that he locked up? Did you see that?
Yeah, one of the birds just swooped right in front of him. Yeah.
I hope that's not hurt his tyres, because that was very unfortunate timing, as Alonso is all over the back of Norris. The 6th, Can Fernando have a go at Lando. We know the Alpine is much quicker in a straight line than the McLaren is. Down to the chicane, no, he's not quite close enough, but he's having a good restart here. But Perez, yeah, thankfully, didn't hit that bird, because obviously if you hit a bird, obviously it's not good, but it can break things on the car, such as the front wing, as Alonso has dropped back a bit now compared to Norris. And now Lewis Hamilton is crawling all over the back of Alonso. How great would it be to see those two wheel to wheel, as Sergio Perez completes lap 33 and is a second clear of Sainz. Verstappen just 6 tenths behind the Spaniard, and then Leclerc just a second behind Max. Grip still not that great into turn 1, still having to take it quite carefully, the drivers, as Alonso and Hamilton are 7th and 8th, make their way through Casino Square, and Hamilton will be hoping he can get a good run through the first part of this middle sector. And he is very close to the back of him, is Lewis. As there's a close fight as well going on between Vettel, Russell, the fastest lap there, they just showed. And no, Hamilton not close enough. Now Alex Albon has the quickest lap, the fastest lap of the race. 120.9 there at the back, but of course he probably would have had a faster restart, because he had his tyres a lot warmer from being allowed to unlap himself. As Hamilton very close behind, as Perez continues on and now begins lap 35. Carlos Sainz still just about a second behind. Perez does the fastest lap, 120.6, as the track should continue to improve grip-wise.
And you can see why we weren't able to have a standing restart, because there still are some puddles off of the main racing line down the pitch straight. So a shame that we couldn't have even more chaos and excitement with the standing start, but ultimately the right decision.
Yeah. As Russell, it's not actually that far behind this pack. I mean, he is losing time to them, obviously, but he's not doing too bad. He's clearly a couple seconds ahead of Lando Norris, who is the next car behind. And 5-second time penalty for Ocon for causing a collision. Don't know what that's for. I hope it's not for that Hamilton.
I assume that's with Hamilton.
I shouldn't be, because I don't see how he was causing a collision there. in that incident. Unless I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's something else.
I'll have to revisit that one. No, well, I mean, that would have been the only thing, and it was under investigation, so yeah, it has to be for that. So I think we might have to revisit that a little bit later on.
Yeah, as Sergio Perez does the fastest lap of the race, a 1:19.8, and like I said, the track should improve as the race goes on. And I mean, the closest gap really in the front four is Verstappen and Leclerc. Leclerc less than a second behind Max, as Max has dropped a bit to Carlos Sainz. So the medium tyre is not really performing that great, as Lewis Hamilton is still, and yet look, they've converted it, Nib, to a timed race. 35 minutes to go then. So hold on, I'll just well, in
You're
about
gonna switch it over to the countdown.
Yeah, so in about a minute's time, I'll convert it over to the countdown of and yeah, by the time I sync it up, there'll be 34 minutes to go. Currently, about 34 minutes and 45 seconds, as the order remains as it is. Yeah, Perez leading. The gap, though, has been cut down by a couple tenths of a second by the looks of it to Carlos Sainz. And Alonso, I have to say, must have some sort of tyre problem, because he has lost 7 seconds to Lando Norris in like 2 or 3 laps. So Alonso is very slow right now. No wonder Lewis Hamilton all over the back of him. So 3, 2, 1. And there you go. And I'll get rid of the lap counter. And
Yeah.
go on.
Sorry, Alonso's in the 22s. Well, he was on the previous lap. Just waiting for it to catch up. Yeah, Alonso just did a 22.2, and Norris ahead's doing a 19.5. I mean, the top 6 are all in the low to mid 19s. So yeah, wonder what's up with Alonso.
Yeah, as Sainz is within a second of Perez. Rook just asked in chat, is it dry enough for DRS yet? We haven't seen any DRS enabled, but I would imagine it's not dry enough. Would you say? I can't really see if it's dry enough, to be honest.
I don't know.
Yeah,
to be honest,
it's hard to say, because like I said, the pit straight, it's got like a shiny track surface, so it looks quite greasy anyway. I mean, surely in the next few minutes we should get a DRS enabled. But Sergio Perez is now under pressure, and that medium tyre gamble, I think, is the wrong decision, because I've noticed that Russell is now starting to lose a lot of time to Norris. Alonso, like you say, Nib, is galactically slow at the minute. He's lost another like 3-4 seconds to Norris. He has no speed. And yeah, everyone on medium tyres pretty much, except for the people at the back, are nowhere. Or not nowhere, but they're definitely losing time compared to like 2 or 3 laps ago. So, and we did see actually in 2019, a big reason why Lewis Hamilton was under such pressure from Max Verstappen was because Hamilton was on the medium and Verstappen was on the hard, and Hamilton's tyres gave out quite soon into the second stint. And look at this. Hamilton all over the back of Alonso. Alonso has no pace at all. He's going to have a train behind him soon. And Hamilton, well, he needs DRS. Because if he had DRS, then he might be able to force Fernando into going offline and possibly getting onto the wet part of the track. But at the moment, yeah, nowhere near getting past. And has Alonso locked his tyres up? Like, why is he so slow? He's lost another 3 seconds.
I have no idea. I might leave the live timing to see if there is any issue with his car. The only thing that I could think of is he, and as we've got DRS enabled, by the way, is he just driving slow on purpose to perhaps save his tyres? And also, I don't think the Hamilton scenario is exactly can be used here, because I mean Hamilton was on those medium tyres for
50
an
laps,
eternity.
yeah.
Yeah, like, it's not quite comparable to today, but I mean, still, I mean, the pace is pretty level at the moment. Not too much of a difference at the moment, but of course, we've got a replay here with Sergio Perez. There's that's what we call inch perfect through the final sector chicane.
Beautiful, I have to say, through there. As close as you want to get. Yeah, with Alonso, either he's like, right, I'm looking after my tyres, I'm not taking any risks, or they're having to save fuel, which could be a thing. But there has been, you know, red flag, safety car, so you would have imagined fuel wouldn't be that big of an issue, surely, for Alonso. But yeah, he's got no pace. He's losing 3 seconds a lap to Russell and Norris ahead of him. And then probably another second to the front 4. So he's like 4 seconds off the front running pace. That's Hamilton. Well, now DRS is now enabled, by the way. So they have enabled DRS. That will help. Sorry. Will help Lewis Hamilton now, hopefully, get its way past. By the way, there is a colossal train of cars outside of the points, starting with Vettel, who is at the head of it, and behind him, Gasly, Ricciardo, Stroll, Tsunoda, and Zhou in the Alfa Romeo, and surely Hamilton will be close to Alonso into turn 1. Well, no, maybe not. He's a bit too far behind, but he just needs Alonso to just go slightly wide at one corner, and then he can apply maximum pressure. Sergio Perez just did a quickest lap of the race, so he's pulled the gap to 1.2 seconds over Carlos Sainz. And Hamilton, well, the best Lewis Hamilton is going to get out of this afternoon is 7th place, but that's still not quite good enough for him, especially when his teammate Russell is in 5th. Also, Nib, how impressive is George Russell? Because he's only 2.5 seconds behind Leclerc in 5th place. How good is that?
Yeah, I mean, Russell's been on pace with these guys the whole entire stint, only losing a couple of tenths, if that, a lap. I mean, on the previous lap, he was nearly 4 tenths faster than Leclerc. So, yeah, I mean, George is doing a tremendous job. And even, Norris was only a tenth slower than Russell on that previous lap as well. I mean, the top 6 are pretty even on pace, although I must say the top 3 now are starting to stretch their legs a little bit.
Yeah, Leclerc being dropped, which I don't know why. Maybe made a slight mistake or something, as we have 27.5 minutes just about to go in this Grand Prix. Remember, when it clicks to 0, the next time Perez crosses the line will be the end of the race, I think. And yeah, Verstappen now applying pressure to Carlos Sainz, only about a second or just under a second he was behind the Spaniard. And yeah, George Russell only 2.5 seconds behind Leclerc. Alonso is now a pit stop behind Norris, so if Norris wants to try something different and go for another set of tyres, he's got the room to be able to do that, which is good for him, because you never know. Him going onto a new set of tyres might mean, or might turn his race into a much better one from 6th at the moment, as Sergio Perez does another fastest lap of 1:16.2, and he is 2 seconds now clear of Sainz. So Perez has got a comfortable gap now. If he can keep it at worst at about what it is, as Sainz has a bit of trouble there at the hairpin. If he can keep it at about 2 seconds at the absolute closest that Sainz gets, then that would be ideal for Perez and Red Bull.
I mean, clearly Fernando Alonso learnt quite a lot from his teammate in 2004, Mr. Jarno Trulli. It's
Yeah,
now the Alonso train. My goodness gracious me. He is so slow.
he is. He's still
He's
pretty.
4 seconds slower than Perez.
Yeah, 4 seconds a lap. There's no reason, surely, why you would want to be, 4 seconds off the pace of Sergio Perez. Or just, yeah, if you're 4 seconds off the pace, normally that'd see you at the very back of the field with the Williamses. And the Williamses have now joined this train. This train that I said was behind Vettel, it's now from Alonso to the very back of the field to Alex Albon in 18th place. So, yeah, just incredible, the lack of pace from Alonso here. As Max, by the way, has lost about a second to Carlos Sainz, so Max is not going to be able to put up a challenge to Carlos Sainz anytime soon. And, yeah, nothing at the minute really going on except this just this train of from Alonso, like I said, all the way through, Hamilton, Ocon, Bottas, Vettel, Gasly, Ricciardo, Stroll, Tsunoda, Zhou, Latifi, Albon. Just a massive train of cars.
Sorry, Chaz. Just a quick little update that there is no issue on Alonso's car, according to Alpine. So I think he is literally just driving this slow on purpose. I mean,
yeah.
you'd have to assume. I mean, we'll of course find out post race when Alonso speaks to the media, but yeah, just quite intriguing. And Hamilton isn't really able to put any pressure on for an overtake at the moment, as everyone's starting to sort of spread out a little bit, apart from with the cars behind Ricciardo in the battle for 13th.
Yeah. As just a massive train, and like you said, they've it's starting to, the field definitely spreading out quite a bit, but also I think a lot of these cars are now starting to settle in to just where they are. The closest battle looks to be Lance Stroll behind Daniel Ricciardo, to be honest. Stroll has been very close to the back of Daniel from what I've seen in the last lap or so. But I'm just going to quickly, Nib, have a drink of water because I'm very hot, so I'll just let you take over for a minute or two.
Yeah, of course. As Fernando Alonso's just a personal best lap on the previous lap, a 1:19.3. And just for reference, the fastest lap on that previous lap was a 16.6 by Carlos Sainz, as really the front six all doing about the same time at the moment, all in the low 16s or just on a 17 flat. So pretty impressive pace by Norris and Russell at the moment. And as we can see on our broadcast, Verstappen would go on to 125 points at the moment if things stay as they are. Of course, extending his championship lead over Charles Leclerc, and I'm sure he'll be very happy with that. And yeah, of course, as Chaz has mentioned previously, it would be a 9-point differential, as I think we're starting to go into the phase of the race of classic snoozico, where there's not a lot happening, that's for sure. Which is a shame because, well, this shouldn't have been the case, because we should have been going back, starting the race about 20 minutes earlier. So just a bit of a shame that we had the red flag, of course, with that terrible crash for Mick Schumacher. And of course, thankfully, he is okay. But yeah, things are not an awful lot going on at the moment. And I think instead of, Leclerc has certainly closed in a little bit on Verstappen on that previous lap, as we could see the train going through the hairpin, as Ricciardo behind Gasly, as there's now a train really behind Vettel now. It seems as if Vettel might be struggling a little bit here. So yeah, quite a lot going on now further back, and I think this is what we need to keep our eyes on, instead of watching the cars up ahead just doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, cheers for that. And yeah, so 21 minutes to go, and yeah, very close it is from Vettel now back to the two Williamses. Zhou, I noticed, was very close to passing Tsunoda into the chicane. Just needed probably a couple extra tenths of a second, and he would have probably been able to go for a move on him. But we're now on board on the TV broadcast with Daniel Ricciardo in the McLaren, who is just following Pierre Gasly, who's in 12th. And, yeah, Tsunoda and Zhou look as though they're still probably the closest battle on track. Zhou still really close behind Hamilton. Probably just complaining on team radio there about just not being able to overtake. Alonso and Zhou, I'm just looking at the timing screen, just 2 tenths behind he was of Tsunoda that lap, but wasn't able to get past. Yeah, 20 minutes to go in this Grand Prix as Alonso rounds the final corner and begins another lap. And yeah, Lewis, I mean, he's got DRS, but the DRS is, not really effective. It's only effective, really, if you are literally like 2 tenths behind out of the final corner. And that's, that's at most the closest you have to be, really, to be getting an overtake done. Look how far, by the way, they're not that far behind this pack of Perez, Sainz, Verstappen, and Leclerc. They're not far behind lapping that entire train of cars. Alonso is almost pretty much half a lap behind the leaders, as Carlos Sainz has just jumped the chicane we're just seeing there. And Sainz is now 3.5 seconds behind Perez. So Perez is in a very dominant position. Max Verstappen is 1.1 seconds behind. And Leclerc 2.3 behind Max. And then Russell 5 seconds or 5.5 behind Leclerc. And then Norris 4.5 seconds behind Russell. And Alonso is 7th and 35 seconds behind Lando Norris, as he still has a big train behind him. And yeah, Verstappen much quicker on the last lap. Not a surprise, but can he actually do anything about it? But to be honest, if Max doesn't get Sainz here, he won't be that disappointed, because as Nib said, and I've said earlier, Max Verstappen, as it stands, will go 9 points clear in the championship fight, with Leclerc losing more points to Max yet again in this title fight. And Sergio Perez, will put himself right in the conversation, and he'll be probably only, if he gets the fastest lap point as well, then Sergio will probably be only, how many points behind? 14 points behind Verstappen, which is obviously not a lot. And obviously the next Grand Prix track we're going to, Baku, probably Perez's best track on the calendar. So looking very good for Perez, as Hamilton is, well, he looks closer to Ocon behind him than Alonso ahead of him. Maybe there's a bit of overheating there or something, as Zhou has lost a position to Latifi, so maybe he's had a go at overtaking Tsunoda and been unsuccessful. As Alonso continues round, and Alonso now pulling away from Hamilton. He's now 2 seconds clear of Lewis Hamilton. As well, have you noticed this, Nib? Alonso's now gone. He's now catching Norris. He's just gone like a 1.5 seconds quicker.
I've just been going through Twitter, so I'm gonna have a look at the live timing to give you some exacts.
Yeah, he's just done like 2 or 3 laps.
Well, on the previous lap, the only person faster on the circuit than Fernando Alonso was Charles Leclerc. Oh no, my bad. Well, he was he was faster than Norris. Yes.
Look at that!
As what has gone on? Oh my goodness!
What a
Zhou
save!
Guan Yu, that is heart in the mouth stuff. How on earth has he saved that? Well done, mate. He's done so well not to go into the back of the car in front of him. That is some mega stuff, as Alex Albon has retired from the Grand Prix. All went really wrong for Albon when he went down the escape road at turn 1. Not that he was having Fernando Alonso, the fastest lap of the Grand Prix at 15.8. He was the fastest car on the circuit by a second.
And yeah, he's now going, massively quicker. Lando Norris, by the way, has pitted for McLaren. I assume with 15 minutes left, he'll go on the soft compound to just try something. And no, he goes on the medium. I can understand why they're going to go for the medium. Maybe the soft would just die for him. But he's got the gap. He will come out in 6th place. And he will rejoin ahead of Alonso, who is still quite far behind him. So Norris now on mediums. Well, let's not criticize Alonso, I think, because obviously knows what he's doing. Because now he's putting in the laps. I mean,
it's just classic Fernando.
To be fair, if he has just deliberately backed off to save his tyres to use them up towards the end, it makes sense, because after he couldn't pass Norris, it's not like he was going to pass him. So, I mean, makes sense, but he has lost a colossal amount of time now. But yeah, so Alex Albon confirmed he is out of the race. Zhou Guan Yu is now last in 17th place. As Sergio Perez has just lost half a second to Carlos Sainz somewhere. As we're now looking at Latifi, Tsunoda must have a problem, because Latifi's all over the back of him for 15th place here, and the front 4 are about to come and lap those 3. And Tsunoda is now 6.5 seconds behind Stroll. So yes, Tsunoda has a problem of some sort, as they're on the radio to Sainz. As Sainz is continuing to close the gap to Perez, now down to 1.1 seconds. Now down to a second. So Carlos putting on a late charge here. And if the medium tyres are going to start to go, it will be in these final 10 minutes. But will it go enough for Carlos to get the win? I doubt it, to be honest. But you never know what could happen in Formula 1. That's a Ferrari, which is so good in the final sector. You can see that there. Closes the gap. Did he get DRS? No, he did not. Just outside of the DRS he was. But the front 4 are separated by, 3 to 3.5 seconds. As Esteban Ocon on team radio, hopefully he hasn't got an issue. Normally, they don't play his team radio during a Grand Prix. As, Carlos Sainz is really closing the gap now to Perez. Hopefully, his tyres, haven't gone, because he's going to have a very, very tricky final 12 minutes of the race here. Into the chicane, and can't see any issues, particularly with Perez, but it's just lapping slower than Carlos. Maybe Carlos did the same thing Fernando's done and just decided to look after his tyres and use them up when he actually needs them. And yeah, that traffic ahead will play a factor in a minute, because they're going to lap them probably in the next 2 or 3 laps. As there's now less than a second between Sainz and Perez, as Sainz has the DRS, and Verstappen just about a second behind Sainz, and Leclerc just over a second behind Verstappen. The front 4 in Formula 1 all separated by barely anything after a long race here in Monaco. Just looking to see if there's any other things going on. Zhou there is right behind Nicholas Latifi as Sainz really close now to Perez. Will he go for a move into the chicane? Is he close enough? No. And the Red Bull, as we know, has very good straight line speed. But Sainz is applying a lot of pressure here, as Verstappen is also close behind. So is Charles Leclerc, in case anything happens. This is going to be, Nib, isn't it? The most pressurised 10 minutes of Sergio's life.
Yeah, classic end of the Monaco Grand Prix here, where everyone is coming close together. Of course, now Leclerc coming very close behind. Verstappen reminds me of the start of the previous decade, when Button and Vettel and Webber and Alonso were all so close, basically seemingly every year at Monaco at the end of the Grand Prix. As we've got a replay here of Sergio Perez, and you can see,
yeah,
those front tyres are not looking too good.
And remember, he had
that lock-up.
Yeah, he had a flat spot, so that might be now coming back to bite him. Nothing he could really do, though. But yeah, he's in trouble. Perez is in trouble. Sainz is 4.5 tenths behind Perez as they exit the final corner for the tunnel. Sainz is not close enough to overtake. But, he feigned for a move there, did Sainz, and he slightly forced Perez into a defensive motion. And look at this. This is brilliant. The front four, nose to tail. But Perez, like you said, he's got no front tyres now. And that will mean that in the slow corners, this is exactly, by the way, what happened to Lewis Hamilton a couple years ago. His front tyres wore out, and then he had no front tyre grip in the slow corners. So in the slow corners, he will be toast. As yellow flag in Sector 1, it's Tsunoda, who I think has gone down the escape road. He has. Tsunoda has gone down the escape road. Thankfully. So Tsunoda is down to last place. What a terrible day for AlphaTauri. But forgetting that, Perez now has pulled the gap out a bit. As Latifi and Zhou having an epic battle for 15th place. As Perez has pulled the gap out a bit now. About 2.5 tenths quicker than Sainz at this part of the track this time. As Perez, yeah, definitely doing better.
Yeah, I mean, Perez's pace just fell off the cliff all of a sudden. He 2 seconds slower than they were doing about 5 laps ago or so. Christian Horner, I'm sure he's got the famous Christian Horner leg tap going, full of nerves, as his certainly squeaky bum time, as he took a lot of curb there, did Perez, through the chicane here. But lots of pressure on Sergio Perez now to deliver this win for his team and, of course, for himself.
Yeah, absolutely. As Perez here is just half a second ahead of Carlos Sainz. And Sainz, like all over the back of him on the exit of Casino Square. And he is a lot closer now. I think maybe that yellow flag is what caused Carlos Sainz maybe to lose a bit of momentum going up Casino Square. Look, they're all so close. Perez has got to make sure he gets these 2 corners right and he'll be fine. Did he get a good release? Oh, Sainz, he's closer this time. Now he's right in the slipstream. What will he do into the chicane? Does he go for it? No, but he's all over trying to force Perez into making a move offline. But Perez resolutely stays on the racing line. Exactly what he needs to do. Cannot defend, as Martin Brundle would say, defend fresh air. As then he will start losing a lot of grip and time. But it is very close between these front four. And I think you are right, Nib, when it comes to Perez's pace. They're so slow, they can't even catch Zhou and Latifi, who are still battling up ahead of them. So, yeah, his pace has just disappeared. By the way, just seen Sonoda has pitted for soft tyres, so he'll probably take the fastest lap of the race. But Perez currently heading for maximum points at the moment with 6 minutes to go in this Monaco Grand Prix. Oh, Perez very slow into the braking zone of Mirabeau. And Sainz, remember though, Sainz does not have a lot to lose. So if he gets a sniff of an overtake, I reckon he will go for it, because Ferrari do need the win. But then again, if he takes himself and Perez out, that gives Max then the win. As, no, not close enough on this occasion. Perez needs to lap those two cars ahead of him to try and give some sort of obstacle to the cars behind him. Because he's just constantly having to look in his mirrors at the minute. As Perez still hanging on. You can tell his front tyres are done and are in bad condition, because every time, even with the live cameras, you can just see how bad they are marked up. 5 minutes to go in this Monaco Grand Prix. As Perez through Casino Square, Carlos Sainz now starts to catch him quite a bit. And in, oh, Sainz rear end all over the place on the exit of the Casino Square section, but he's still all over the back of Perez. Can he get close enough? Yellow flag in sector 1. Don't know who that is for. As Sainz is not close enough, there's now green flags. So I'm going to assume someone went deep at turn 1 or something. As they're about to come up and lap Zhou and Latifi, Perez needs those blue flags to start waving to get him just a couple minutes of breathing space, as Sainz and Verstappen and Leclerc all pushing hard now, because you just never know what could happen and who could win this Monaco Grand Prix with 2 seconds separating the front 4 at the minute. And Zhou lets them all go. Good driving from him. But Perez still got Sainz half a second behind as they now come into Casino Square. Definitely front tyre graining is going to hurt you in these corners. And Sainz is very close now to the back of Perez. Down to the hairpin. Will he go for a move? Surely when it gets close to the end, they're going to have to surely tell him that he's going to have to go for it. As Sainz now exits the final corner before the tunnel. Is he close enough? Max, to be honest, looks closer to Sainz than Sainz to Perez. But Max is not close enough, really, to overtake. Now the next car to be lapped is Nicholas Latifi. And Verstappen still just reminding Sainz that he is there and he is pushing just as hard as he is. As Carlos now 7 tenths behind Perez. Another lockup. I think that was Latifi. And Perez should get DRS here. Or will he not? No, he won't, but Sainz will. That is annoying. And Latifi has got to make sure he gets out of the way of everybody. And he does, just about. Does he keep position over Zhou in the background? I don't know. No, Zhou has to stay behind. 2 minutes to go. Perez still holding on. Nib, quickly before we get to the end, do you think Perez is going to hold on?
I do think so, Chaz, yeah.
So, yeah, I think he's good enough to do it, and I think he will hold on. We've seen him under pressure in the past, and he's been able to keep his head. And he is a pretty tough driver to overtake. As we now, with 1 minute and 35 seconds to go, come into the chicane. Perez about 6.5 tenths ahead of Carlos Sainz. And I'm pretty sure When he crosses the line, in a moment, that'll start the... Will it start the final lap? I'm not sure.
It's once you cross the line 0-0, then it's final lap, I'm pretty sure.
Right. Well,
so there'll be another 2 laps.
Right. So this is the penultimate lap then of the Grand Prix. Perez looks as though, as the sun comes out briefly, looks as though he's now bought himself a couple tenths of a second. But he cannot afford to take any more out of his tyres. As Lando Norris, by the way, has closed to within 5 seconds of George Russell. That's something to look out for if Russell hits the cliff, which I'd be surprised if he hit the cliff that hard, but you never know. As Perez is still, as they enter the tunnel, is still 6 tenths of a second clear, and he won't be under pressure this time. As Sergio Perez exits the chicane and now into the back, and it looks as though he's not struggling as much now. Sainz, I think, might be struggling himself with a bit of tyre wear.
Yeah, just quickly before we get on to the final lap, you would be correct that they're going about a second quicker than when Sainz was absolutely all over the back of him. As Norris has been about 4 seconds quicker than these guys over the last, well, since he pitted pretty much.
Right, so 1 lap to go, as the marshal there just illustrated. Final lap here in Monaco. And he continues.
What a sport that the guy sticks his one singular finger out to tell the drivers that it's 1 lap.
Not sure they're going to see that, mate. As Perez, he's about a second, 9 tenths of a second clear of Sainz. He is doing very well here in these final bits. Can Max Verstappen have a go at Carlos Sainz? Probably not, but he's applying more pressure to Sainz than Sainz is to Perez. As into the chicane now, Sergio Perez comes. He exits the chicane. Now, a very tricky part of the track left. Into the swimming pool section. Exits the swimming pool. And into Rascasse. And the final corner, hopefully, for Perez. He's had a very, very tough career, Sergio, but this will be definitely his finest hour in Formula One. Sergio Perez wins in Monaco. Carlos Sainz finishes second. Max Verstappen third. Charles Leclerc finishes fourth. And that is it at the front as Russell, look at that, Norris, he almost got him for fifth. Good decision by McLaren, but just a lap too late probably on that. So Russell finishes fifth, Norris sixth, and then it should be Alonso in seventh, Hamilton eighth, Ocon ninth, and Bottas in 10th, with Vettel 11th, Gasly 12th, Ricciardo 13th, and then Stroll, Latifi, Zhou, Tsunoda, the rest of your finishers. And then your only retirements, Alex Albon and the two Haases of Schumacher and Magnussen. That was a pretty good Monaco Grand Prix, considering what Monaco Grand Prix do tend to be. Great victory of Perez. I'm so happy for him. Nib, give us your thoughts for the race winner today.
I mean, well, the story will be how Ferrari they might not have stopped Perez winning this race, but they certainly threw away Leclerc finishing in second. And I mean, Perez is now just 6 points behind Leclerc in the championship. Perez is absolutely right in this championship battle at the moment. A tremendous drive by Perez. I mean, the lap that he did on the intermediates when they pitted Sainz and Leclerc was absolutely monstrous, where he was 7 seconds faster than them. Just an amazing job by Perez. And just thinking back to this race in 2013, where he had probably one of his worst days in his career when he crashed with his teammate Jenson Button and was really just trying kamikaze moves that whole entire race. It's been some turnaround for Sergio Perez, and I don't think many people could be happier for him than us too.
Yeah, it's been like I said right before he won, it's been a tough career, but this is definitely going to be his highlight of his career. And yep, he is now, 2 times this season now. He's qualified max in qualifying. Obviously, pole in Saudi Arabia. And because Baku's next up, definitely you'd have to say Sergio Perez is a title contender in 2022. How amazing would it be if he was to actually win it? Yeah, fantastic. And yeah, for a Monaco Grand Prix, I enjoyed that quite a bit. Just quickly, Nib, before we get to the end, because we have been live for 3.5 hours. Driver of the day, and out of 10, what would you give this Grand Prix?
I have no idea who I'd give my driver of the day to. I don't know. And honestly, I'd probably give this Grand Prix a 7.5. I mean, there was a period of about 15 laps where it was quite tedious. Before, of course, Perez had his issues, as Perez has nearly fallen back through the halo into the car, trying to stand up celebrating. that was quite funny. But yeah, I'll go probably a 7.5. To be honest, that was a pretty enjoyable Grand Prix. And it's just a shame that we didn't get the wet procedures going. And it's just something that the FIA have got to improve, because it just simply wasn't good enough. We were robbed certainly of some more wet racing, and robbed of course of the full 77 laps of Grand Prix racing.
Yeah. Yeah. FIA in the future have got to improve that, because this isn't right or correct, I think. For me, I'd have to go Sergio Perez, driver of the day, driver of the weekend as well. To out-qualify and out-race Max Verstappen as his teammate, I cannot stress how good that is. That is an amazing achievement for anybody to do. So yeah, fantastic from Perez. Absolutely brilliant. And for the race, I'd give it, probably a 7, 7.5. Something between a 7 and a 10, 7 and an 8, sorry. But I'll go 7 for me. Yeah, it was a good Monaco Grand Prix for sure. And hopefully this isn't the last time we'll be coming to the streets of Monte Carlo. Nib, thank you very much for coming on. Very long stream. Now you know what it felt like at Spa to a certain degree. But yeah, thanks for joining me, and yeah, great Monaco Grand Prix.
Yeah, thanks for having me on as per usual, mate. That was certainly not quite the full Spa experience, but still a thoroughly enjoyable Monaco Grand Prix and a great stream. And of course, we'll see you all next time for Baku. Thank you, Baku.
Yeah, and well, we know Baku can produce its craziness. Remember last year, and obviously Perez won there last year as well. Yeah, thanks, Nib, coming on. Absolutely great to have you here as always. And thank you guys for coming along for this stream. Great to have you here for so long. And yeah, just fantastic to have you as always. Now, I will be live in about 45 minutes from now with a race reaction stream. So make sure to join me for that, for a reaction to what happened in Monaco with all the teams and drivers, and just react to, immediate reaction basically to what happened in the Grand Prix. So make sure to join me for that in 45 minutes time. And as well, I will be live tomorrow night, 8 p.m. UK time, to probably review what happened here in Monaco a bit more in depth, and definitely take more of a look at how Ferrari got it so wrong today and blew what should have been a certain victory. So make sure to join me for that reaction again in 45 minutes from now, and the race review, I guess the proper review of the Monaco Grand Prix, tomorrow night at 8 p.m. UK time. Again, great to have you guys all along. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there. And as well, don't forget to smash a like button and share this video and channel everywhere you can. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at ChazHD5. And as well, don't forget to join my Discord server, link below in the description. But guys, until my race reaction stream, and until the next Grand Prix watch along in Baku in 2 weeks, it's been me, ChazHD. Goodbye.